Chapter 744 The Heavenly Gate appears. Subscription request. _2 When these powerhouses of the myriad clans saw that Lin Yuan was the one leading the human civilization evolvers, their hearts were filled with astonishment. The mysterious powerhouse from Shuiyu ancient country, although he had only made a move once 200 years ago, had stunned the four quarters and was still ranked among the 9 greatest powerhouses. Originally, many powerhouses of the myriad clans had speculated about the identity of this mysterious powerhouse, and it was most likely that he was a unique special life form similar to the mother of the tree realm and the 4 divine kings. But now, upon seeing him, this mysterious powerhouse actually hailed from human civilization? Worthy of human civilization. Terrifying. Human civilization possesses such a powerhouse, and yet there was no hint of it until today? It might not necessarily be a powerhouse from human civilization. Perhaps it was just a collaboration with human civilization. The powerhouses of the myriad clans discussed among themselves, most of them clearly understanding that they had no hope of leaving the two-dimensional world. Their purpose in coming to Heavenly Mountain was to glimpse those lives strongest under the Supreme Being in the cosmic starry skies. Lord Shuiyu was not our human civilization's powerhouse? Xinyuan Dua glanced at the surrounding myriad tribes' powerhouses and subtly shook her head. Source. Updated on N0VG0. So from the tone a Supreme Being had instructed her, Xinyuan Dua was almost certain that Lin Yuan was from human civilization. If he were an outsider, a Supreme Being wouldn't possibly trust him to hand over all the rare items. Beyond the scroll. A Supreme Being of the Star Alliance glanced at Xiaqin's Supreme Being and rapidly transmitted a message. So this is the confidence of your human civilization? As the powerhouses of the myriad clans saw Lin Yuan leading the human evolvers towards the summit of Heavenly Mountain, they naturally spread the news, and a Supreme Being of the Star Alliance immediately knew of it. Xiaqin's Supreme Being looked at the Supreme Being of the Star Alliance and said nothing. By this point, there was no need for concealment. In face of the celestial gate soon to be opened, all forces needed to be gathered. That's why he had Lin Yuan join up with the human evolvers. It wasn't that he thought Xinyuan Dua and other human evolvers could bring great help to Lin Yuan, but at least when other powerful entities were restrained, Xinyuan Dua and the other human evolvers could intervene. I watched the video of your human civilization evolvers' last battle. For an 11th level perfected evolver to possess such combat power is indeed rare, but this time when the celestial gate opens competing with us special beings, you are still lacking, said the Supreme Being of the Star Alliance again through transmission. He was speaking the truth. In the two-dimensional world, those strong special beings had far too great an advantage. Let's see after the celestial gate opens. Xiaqin's Supreme Being shook his head. The Supreme Being of the Star Alliance thought Lin Yuan was some 11th level perfected evolver of human civilization. But in fact, Lin Yuan was a 10th rank evolver who had just entered the 10th rank not long ago. In just over 100 years, with the strength of the 10th rank, he had crushed Tuoba Ancient God and other 5th tier 11th rank special beings. Such talent and ability were unheard of by Xiaqin's Supreme Being. The 4 divine kings, being 11th rank complete legendary life forms, probably wouldn't even qualify to be compared to Lin Yuan if it weren't for that supreme weapon they had brought along. Lin Yuan arrived at the summit of Heavenly Mountain with the human evolvers. The summit of Heavenly Mountain was vast and broad, where at this moment at least 100,000 myriad tribes powerhouses had gathered. 4 divine kings? Lin Yuan instantly spotted the 4-armed man sitting cross-legged in the central area of the mountain. Nobody from the myriad tribes powerhouses dared approach this 4-armed man, which was why Lin Yuan immediately noticed him. Is this who Xiaqin's Supreme Being warned me to treat cautiously, and if uncertain, to yield this celestial gate spot and prepare for the next opening? Lin Yuan observed the 4 divine kings carefully. In Xiaqin's Supreme Being's eyes, it wasn't the 4 divine kings himself that was fearsome, but the supreme weapon he had brought along. A fully refined supreme weapon might unleash a power far beyond the limits of the two-dimensional world. His arms. Lin Yuan's gaze lingered on the 4 arms of the 4 divine kings. This was also where the opponent's supreme weapon integrated. They don't look strong, but it could also be that he's concealing his breath, not exerting his full strength, Lin Yuan thought to himself. Just like him now, as long as he doesn't deliberately exude his aura, the other myriad tribes powerhouses would not be able to detect anything. The reason those myriad tribes powerhouses feared Lin Yuan was entirely due to his dominant battle against Tuoba Ancient God 200 years ago. Let's observe a bit more. Lin Yuan shifted his gaze from the 4 divine kings, turning his attention to other myriad tribes powerhouses. Among them, A thin old man burning like flames and a 3-meter-tall robust man and a few other powerhouses caught Lin Yuan's eye. According to the intelligence he had obtained, these were all 11th rank complete legendary lives, though they didn't pose as much of a threat as the 4 divine kings with a supreme weapon. Still, they were not to be underestimated. In the outer world, these 11th rank complete legendary beings were simply not something Lin Yuan could contend with, but in the two-dimensional world things were unpredictable. Under equal starting conditions, even if competing with a supreme being, as long as there was enough time, Lin Yuan was confident of winning. In the central area of the summit of Heavenly Mountain, the 4 divine kings opened his eyes, glanced around and slightly furrowed his brows. Too many. The summit of Heavenly Mountain was indeed vast, but at this moment, more than 100,000 myriad tribes powerhouses had gathered, and the number was still increasing every moment, making the 4 divine kings somewhat irritable. 4 divine kings, how about we join forces and clear the field by screening? The distant thin old man who seemed to be burning with flames spoke up, while the other few 11th rank complete legendary life forms looked over as well. Chapter 745 The Heavenly Gate Appears, Subscription Request. Free. Let's begin the selection then, nodded the 4 divine kings. The very next moment, a terrifying presence with the 4 divine kings at its center, swept through in all directions. At the same time, 4 or 5 other 11th rank complete legendary lives also freely released their own auras. In an instant, a horrifying suppressive force enveloped the pinnacle of Heavenly Mountain, and all the myriad tribes' powerhouses felt a vast force bearing down upon them. What's going on? What are the 4 divine kings doing? They're cleansing the field. The 4 divine kings are cleansing the field. Some of the myriad tribes' powerhouses immediately realized something, their faces turning ugly. From now on, only those who can withstand our pressure for the time it takes an incense stick to burn will have the right to stand atop Heavenly Mountain, came the cold voice of the 4 divine kings. With their strength, if they joined forces with other 11th rank complete legendary lives, they could completely massacre the myriad tribes' powerhouses present. But doing so would inevitably offend the forces behind these powerhouses. After 200 to 300 years of hunting, the surviving powerhouses of the myriad clans had grown wise and would not carry treasures on their person. Source. Updated on Wuxia World. Site. If it were for treasures, the 4 divine kings wouldn't mind stirring up a massacre, but slaughtering these powerhouses of the myriad clans now was completely pointless. Hence, the 4 divine kings and other powerhouses chose to cleanse the field. Stand for the time it takes an incense stick to burn? I feel like I can't even withstand it for 10 breaths. Some of the myriad tribes' powerhouses were trembling in their legs, not hesitating in the least to exit the range of the mountain summit. After 300 years of hard cultivation, I've finally reached the witch ancestors' 10th realm, only to find I don't even have the right to watch the heavenly gate open from the summit, said a powerhouse of the myriad clans, his expression dejected. He was a 10th rank powerhouse in the outside world and had thought that falling into the two-dimensional world would be an opportunity for him. After all, even 11th rank lives would be starting from the same point as him, but he hadn't expected the gap to still be so unimaginably big. Such a terrifying pressure. What realm are the 4 divine kings really at? A certain 11th rank powerhouse looked serious. He was confident he could withstand the pressure for the time it takes an incense stick to burn, but this was merely the pressure released by the 4 divine kings. Struggling so hard against the 4 divine kings' pressure, what hope did he have when facing their actual killing intent, let alone competing for a spot through the heavenly gate? The 4 divine kings have cultivated at least to the witch ancestor 30th realm, mused a grim myriad tribes powerhouse standing there. He was an 11th rank 5th tier powerhouse, and it was easy for him to withstand the length of an incense stick under the pressure of the 4 divine kings. But from the aura and suppressive force emitted by the 4 divine kings and other 11th rank complete legendary lives, one could vaguely estimate the true strength of the 4 divine kings. On the side of human civilization, Lin Yuan stood quietly, his expression calm and without the slightest fluctuation. The 4 divine kings and other 11th rank complete legendary lives joining forces to clear the field did not cross Lin Yuan's bottom line. He even preferred to watch this scene, taking the opportunity to observe the true strength of the 4 divine kings and other powerhouses. Although they have released their auras, they have not yet activated that supreme weapon, Lin Yuan thought, gazing distantly at the 4 divine kings. Let's wait and see. Lin Yuan was not in a hurry, wanting to see the 4 divine kings use that supreme weapon before deciding whether he should compete for a spot through the heavenly gate this time. You all? Lin Yuan glanced at his surroundings. At this moment, apart from Shenyuan Dua and others, the evolvers of human civilization looked somewhat strained. They would likely struggle to withstand it for the time it takes an incense stick to burn. Under the combined suppressive force of the 4 divine kings and the few other 11th rank complete legendary lives, the myriad tribes powerhouses below the witch ancestor 18th realm could hardly hold on. Especially Nalen, who had turned red in the face. As a newly promoted 11th rank evolver, he probably couldn't last even half the time it takes an incense stick to burn. Don't be distracted. With a thought, Lin Yuan began to help them bear the pressure. Suddenly, the faces of Shenyuan Dua and other evolvers relaxed considerably. Thank you, Lord Shuayu. Shenyuan Dua and the others immediately expressed their gratitude. At the central summit, the 4 divine kings appeared slightly astonished as they looked towards the side of human civilization. Interesting. The 4 divine kings faintly felt that the pressure they had released was being invisibly diluted as it encountered the vicinity of the human civilization evolvers. Accomplishing this was far more difficult than simply resisting his pressure. This evolver from human civilization shouldn't be underestimated. The 4 divine kings thought highly of Lin Yuan for a moment, but then ceased to pay attention. To them, Lin Yuan at most was on the same level as that skinny old man, an 11th rank complete legendary life, and not a threat to them at their current level. Soon enough, the time of an incense stick was almost up. At this moment, the summit of Heavenly Mountain, originally having tens of thousands of myriad tribes powerhouses, had plummeted to fewer than 300. Most of the myriad tribes powerhouses had been driven to the mountainside, able to see the summit only from a great distance. The 4 divine kings are too tyrannical. We're not even trying to get close to the heavenly gate, so why clear us out like this? If you think the 4 divine kings are tyrannical, you can go challenge them. The many myriad tribes powerhouses driven down from the summit showed discontent on their faces, but dared not take any rash actions. If at the beginning of their descent into this two-dimensional world, they had hoped to threaten the likes of the 4 divine kings by joining forces, then after more than 300 years have passed, powerhouses like the 4 divine kings have long since grown, far beyond what they could contend against with numbers. Thus, the myriad tribes powerhouses below the summit were discontented, but not daring to take a step back onto the summit. Soon enough, the time of an incense stick had passed. Atop the summit, there were only just over 100 myriad tribes powerhouses left. All were 11th rank powerhouses. Now it's much quieter. The 4 divine kings looked around with satisfaction and sat down cross-legged once again. In the distance, the 4 or 5 11th rank complete legendary lives also nodded slightly. Even though they were planning to join forces against the 4 divine kings, the notion of weak ones having no right to stand atop Heavenly Mountain and wait for the heavenly gate to open with them still coincided with the 4 divine kings without prior agreement. Lin Yuan and Shenyuan Dua, along with the other human civilization evolvers, also stood in their places waiting. Time slowly passed by. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had gone. On that day, under the gaze of all the myriad tribes powerhouses on the summit, a grand spatial fluctuation began to converge in the sky above the summit. Chapter 746 Cross this line and die. Please subscribe. The Heavenly Gate has appeared. This is the Heavenly Gate. I feel the entire two-dimensional world is trembling. I now believe that through the Heavenly Gate, one can truly leave this world. At the mountainside, many of the myriad tribes powerhouses were visibly excited, staring intently at the sky above the mountaintop, where, under the surging force of space, a heavenly gate over 10 meters tall was gradually taking shape from its ethereal beginnings. Heavenly Gate? The 4 divine kings' gaze was solemn, and even though he considered himself invincible in the two-dimensional world, he was somewhat nervous now. The Heavenly Gate was critical to whether he could leave. Other myriad tribes powerhouses who stayed in the two-dimensional world paid the price by losing part of their spirit will. But for him, the 4 divine kings, if he couldn't return to the universe, he would lose not only part of his spirit will but an ultimate weapon as well. Even for a supreme being, obtaining an ultimate weapon that completely suited oneself was no easy feat. And what about him, the 4 divine kings? If he were to lose this ultimate weapon in the two-dimensional world, the 4 divine kings would probably have to wait until he became a supreme being to obtain another suitable ultimate weapon. But how long would that take? And there was no guarantee for the 4 divine kings to become ultimate, to achieve ascendancy. Otherwise he wouldn't have been dragging his feet until now. I will be the one to enter the Heavenly Gate this time. The 4 divine kings' expression was fierce, and between his 4 arms, an indistinct mysterious power was circulating. Is that the Heavenly Gate? From afar, Lin Yuan was also observing the heavenly gate. What a massive spatial fluctuation! Lin Yuan was astonished in his heart. The spatial fluctuation emitted by the silver mirror paled in comparison to the heavenly gate before him. It was like the light of a glowworm against the bright moon. The two were not on the same level at all. To leave the two-dimensional world, one must rely on the heavenly gate. Lin Yuan thought to himself that it was absolutely impossible for an individual alone to cause such a huge disturbance in the force of space. Outside the scroll, just as the heavenly gate was gradually becoming more tangible, dozens of supreme beings were on high alert, anticipating that if the heavenly gate was the portal connecting the two-dimensional world with the main universe, then when the heavenly gate appeared, the two-dimensional world, severed by white paper, would establish a conduit to the main universe. At that time the supreme beings, could better observe the essence of white paper. They could even interfere with the two-dimensional world. For example, forcefully fishing out the myriad tribes' powerhouses who were deeply trapped within. With the barrier of white paper, the supreme beings couldn't affect the inside of the two-dimensional world. But if a connection were established with the methods of a supreme being, fishing people out would be entirely doable. However, a moment later, the faces of the supreme beings outside the scroll turned ugly. What's going on? Why has the heavenly gate inside started to materialize, but there is still no change in the outside world? Based on the clan's reports, when the heavenly gate materializes, there is a massive fluctuation of spatial force. It's clearly the characteristic of establishing a spatial passage, so why is there no response from the outside now? Each of the supreme beings looked puzzled. Normally, with a spatial passage, if one side experiences a spatial fluctuation, the other side should as well, otherwise how could they connect? Did something unexpected happen? Let's wait a bit longer. Perhaps it's because the heavenly gate hasn't fully manifested, so it hasn't affected the outside world yet. Yes, let's keep waiting. Once the heavenly gate is completely formed, it should be about time. Many supreme beings exchanged glances and patiently began to wait again. Having lived through long eons, what they didn't lack was patience. At the summit of Heavenly Mountain, just as the heavenly gate was gradually taking shape, the 4 divine kings and 5 other 11th rank perfect legendary lives suddenly charged toward the heavenly gate. Boom boom boom. Sia the Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Terrible sonic booms reverberated in all directions. In just a blink of an eye, the 4 divine kings had exchanged hundreds of blows with the 5 other 11th rank perfect lives. We must take down the 4 divine kings first. The gaunt old man and the other 4 looked at each other and joined forces, pressing down towards the 4 divine kings. In their eyes, the 4 divine kings posed too great a threat. Keeping the 4 divine kings would only allow them to pick the spoils after the others had battled. You want to take me down first? You are not worthy. The 4 divine kings laughed madly, his 4 arms swirling with dense vital energy. The 4 divine kings' arms were incredibly nimble, lightly reaching out and landing on the chest of the 3-meter-tall burly man. This 3-meter-tall burly man was also an 11th rank complete legendary life. His expression changed drastically as he began to retreat explosively, only stopping after 100 meters. Swoosh. The figure of the 3-meter-tall burly man disappeared, rejoining the battle against the 4 divine kings. Whir. Accompanied by the ferocious combat of the 4 divine kings and the gaunt old man with the other 4 powerhouses, their terrifying attacks had almost plowed through the entire summit of the heavenly mountain. They're too strong. How can the 4 divine kings be so strong? At the top of the summit, over 111th rank powerhouses, who had initially planned to get closer to the heavenly gate and perhaps sneak some benefits, but after seeing the exchange between the 4 divine kings and the other 5 powerhouses, didn't dare to approach. Anyone who dared approach the heavenly gate at this moment would become the target of the 4 divine kings and those 5 powerhouses. The outcome would almost be certain death. Not even a defense artifact could keep them alive. A defense artifact might block 99% of the attacks, but the residual shockwave penetration was enough to annihilate any of the myriad tribes' powerhouses. Damn it! At the central position close to the mountaintop, Hoju of the prison tribe, wielding a blood-red long knife, was filled with reluctance. He was one of the few strong contenders from the myriad tribes who dared to bring a mysterious artifact into the fray. But Hoju did not carry the strange object directly with him. His blood-colored long knife was placed inside a wooden box, and outsiders did not know what was inside. Originally, Hoju had planned to make a great show with the blood-colored long knife when approaching the heavenly gate. Yet, at the moment he could not even get close to the battlefield of the four divine kings and Bozan. At the mountain base, over 100,000 powerhouses from the myriad clans watched the battle between the four divine kings and the other five strong contenders in utter shock. In this two-dimensional world they can exert such strength. Aren't the four divine kings too freakish? Thank goodness I came down from the mountain prematurely. Otherwise, I would have been gravely injured by the aftermath of their clash, if not dead. Alas, it seems I have no chance to enter the heavenly gate now. The four divine kings and those five contenders have already occupied the 6 spots for the opening of the heavenly gate. I can't possibly live for 70,000 years in this two-dimensional world. While watching the battle, an air of desperation began to surge in the hearts of many powerhouses of the myriad tribes. Even a small proportion of them directly extinguished their avatars. Since they were to suffer essential losses sooner or later, they might as well face it now. On the side of human civilization, Shenyuan Dua and the other evolvers watched the battle under the heavenly gate with trepidation. Lord Shueyu, should we give up this opportunity for the opening of the heavenly gate? Shenyuan Dua couldn't help but ask, truly frightened by the scene of the confrontation between the four divine kings and the other strong contenders. Let's wait and see, Lin Yuan said nonchalantly. So far, the four divine kings had yet to use their ultimate weapon. The fighting between the 6 contenders looked extremely brutal, but neither side had truly exerted their full power yet. The 5 11th rank complete legendary lives, led by the small and thin old man, had also not yet used a single mysterious artifact. Under the heavenly gate. Off. 6 figures were fighting fiercely. The heavenly gate is about to materialize. You 4 join forces and hold him off. He'll go check out the heavenly gate. The small and thin old man quickly broke away, intending to head towards the heavenly gate. According to the information within the two-dimensional world, only the life that stands in front of the heavenly gate first after it opens can attempt to push it. This meant that it was not directly related to strength, even though the individual strength of the 4 divine kings was the strongest. As long as they did not stand in front of the heavenly gate, there was a chance that the small and thin old man could enter it. How dare you? The 4 divine kings instantly went mad. A dimly luminous light suddenly appeared between his 4 arms, and an aura that shook the soul momentarily covered the entire mountain summit. The 4 divine kings are using that ultimate weapon. The small and thin old man, who had originally intended to approach the heavenly gate, immediately returned. His actions just now were solely to provoke the 4 divine kings, forcing them to use their ultimate weapon prematurely. If the 4 divine kings had endured a little longer and allowed the small and thin old man to approach the heavenly gate, the other 4 11th rank complete legendary lives would probably have been unable to sit still. Boom. A terrifying aura suddenly exploded. The small and thin old man and the other 5 strong contenders also used their mysterious artifacts for the first time. In an instant, the battle beneath the heavenly gate escalated several levels, with the horrifying aftermath almost continuously eroding the height of the mountain summit. Ha ha, you 5 useless things, you think you can deal with me by joining forces? The 4 divine kings waved their 4 arms, and every attack they launched shook the 5 11th rank complete legendary strength contenders. He's so strong? The small and thin old man looked troubled but did not back down. The heavenly gate was right before his eyes. Unless absolutely necessary, he was unwilling to give up. Now, the 4 divine kings were facing 5 at once and had the upper hand, but that didn't mean they could definitely beat them. Boom. The energy of the small and thin old man and the other 5 contenders surged once more, repelling the 4 divine kings' frenzied attacks. Let's go. We can't stay here any longer. Hurry, let's go. The 11th rank powerhouses standing on the summit began to rush towards the middle of the mountain. They felt that if they continued to stay there, they might indeed be in mortal danger. Lord Shueyu, we should also leave quickly, Shenyuan Dua said urgently. Their ability to withstand the pressure emanating from the 4 divine kings and the others was solely due to Lin Yuan's protection. Most human evolvers did not have the right to stand at the top of the mountain, and now that the fight between the 4 divine kings and the other 5 contenders had escalated, it would be suicidal not to leave. Leave? Why should we leave? Lin Yuan shook his head slightly, his gaze still fixed on the heavenly gate, which had mostly materialized. I originally thought that a refined ultimate weapon could unleash considerable power in this world. Turns out it's just this. What do you mean? Shenyuan Dua was somewhat baffled. She did not understand why at this moment, instead of worrying about evading the aftermath, Lord Shueyu was talking about the power of the ultimate weapon. However, before Xinyuan Dua could recover her wits, Lin Yuan, who had been standing in front of her, casually stepped forward and vanished from the spot. Beneath the heavenly gate, where the 4 divine kings and the small and thin old man and other contenders had been fiercely colliding, suddenly everyone felt their scalps explode, as if they were facing life-and-death decisions, and fear arose in their hearts. They started to retreat wildly in all directions without hesitation. Swish! A figure crossed over their former positions and appeared in front of the barely manifested heavenly gate. This figure, with his back to the 4 divine kings and the other 6 strong contenders, raised his right hand and gently drew a line behind him. A constantly trembling black aura encompassed half of the mountain summit, and the 4 divine kings and the other 6 strong contenders were all outside this thin line of black energy. It was only then that Lin Yuan even glanced at the 4 divine kings and the others. Cross this line and die. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 747 Why does this line move on its own? Please subscribe. In front of the divine gateway, Lin Yuan approached for a closer observation. The two were less than half a meter apart. A black line of breath, seemingly substantial, prevented the 4 divine kings and other level 11 perfect legendary powerhouses from crossing. This sight was incredibly shocking, as even authoritarian beings like the 4 divine kings displayed looks of doubt and uncertainty, refraining from crossing the line. At the foot of the mountain, tens of thousands from the myriad tribes' powerhouses widened their eyes. Within their view of the scene, originally, the 4 divine kings and 5 other powerhouses were engaged in a fierce battle. But in the next moment, they all stopped and retreated swiftly. Then a figure appeared in front of the divine gateway. With a flick of his hand, he drew a line and left the message, "Those who cross this line shall die." What was most unbelievable was that the 4 divine kings and the 5 other powerhouses really didn't cross that thin line. They just let that suddenly emerging figure stand in front of the divine gateway? What's the situation now? Why aren't the 4 divine kings fighting anymore? That figure in front of the divine gateway, is he the mysterious powerhouse from Shuiyu ancient country who emerged 200 years ago from human civilization, who suddenly made a move and deterred the 4 divine kings? So domineering, "Those who cross this line shall die"? He really doesn't regard the 4 divine kings at all? The myriad tribes' powerhouses rapidly discussed amongst themselves, currently situated on the mountainside, unable to sense the fluctuations of aura at the peak. They could only make judgments based on the reactions of the 4 divine kings and other powerhouses. At the mountaintop, the many 11th rank powerhouses who had not yet evacuated were watching Lin Yuan in absolute astonishment. He's too strong. How is this human civilization's blood rain so powerful? As soon as he took action, the 4 divine kings dared not continue? One by one, the 11 rank powerhouses got closer and sensed more, leading them to find the situation even more unbelievable. They had originally thought that among all the myriad tribes' powerhouses, with the refining of the supreme weapon, the 4 divine kings would be the strongest. Even other level 11 perfect legendary powerhouses, like the Slender Elder and 5 others, needed to join forces to barely contend. Then Lin Yuan suddenly appeared? Note that the outside world had deemed Lin Yuan among the 9 great powerhouse levels. But there was still a significant gap between him and the 4 divine kings, the Slender Elder and the other 5 powerhouses. Lord Blood Rain, it's... On the side of human civilization's evolvers, Xinyuan Dua and other evolvers were somewhat dazed. Just over a month ago, they were pleasantly surprised to learn that Lin Yuan also came from human civilization. Based on the strength that Lin Yuan had displayed 200 years ago, even if he wasn't quite at the level of superior powerhouses like the 4 divine kings, he was still strong enough to compete for entrance into the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th opening of the divine gateway. As for the first opening of the divine gateway, honestly, Xinyuan Dua had no expectations at all. Accompanying Lin Yuan was just to witness the divine gateway for herself. After all, she was well aware of the strength of the 4 divine kings. Even if they joined forces with the Slender Elder and others to confront the 4 divine kings, the likelihood of entering the divine gateway would probably still be unrelated to Lin Yuan. Therefore, from the beginning, Xinyuan Dua didn't think this opening of the divine gateway had anything to do with human evolvers. This was a competition among the innate mighty extraordinary beings. Outside the scroll, the many supreme beings also paid close attention to the scenes atop Heavenly Mountain. Unable to peer into the two-dimensional world, they could only watch the shared memory images of the myriad clans' powerhouses present on Heavenly Mountain. The 4 divine kings are indeed very strong. The spot for this divine gateway's opening should belong to the four divine kings. Truly the unique and unparalleled special beings, the treasures of the Star Alliance. The supreme beings carefully deduced the outcome of the battle through the memory images, which held no surprises for them. Originally, they were aware that the four divine kings should be the final victors. After all, compared to other myriad clans' powerhouses, refining a supreme weapon completely suited to oneself held too great an advantage. The forces behind the myriad clans' powerhouses had also considered extinguishing the four divine kings early on, only to end up with the Tianyu clan being slaughtered and eliminated prematurely. However, just as the supreme beings continued their observations, they were stunned, for through the memory images, they saw Lin Yuan appear and force the retreat of the four divine kings and the other five powerhouses. Is this an evolver from human civilization? How can he be so strong, surpassing even the combined force of the four divine kings? One supreme being after another displayed surprise, as even the four divine kings, to these beings of the 12th rank ultimate, didn't seem like much, merely a young individual with prospects of becoming ultimate. What surprised the supreme beings was the unexpected turn in the battle. Sir the Novelier. N.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Could there be someone stronger than the four divine kings? And this powerhouse came from human civilization? A frown creased the forehead of a supreme being from the Star Alliance, who was observing through the memory images of the four divine kings and therefore knew more about the aura Lin Yuan emitted. No wonder you, Xiaqin, were unwilling to cooperate with me. Your human civilization has been hiding deeply. The Star Alliance's supreme being looked at the Xiaqin supreme being with some dissatisfaction and muttered under his breath. At this moment he finally understood why the Xiaqin supreme being had previously acted so perfunctorily. It turned out that human civilization didn't need to rely on the four divine kings to enter the divine gateway. Although the four divine kings and other powerhouses did not directly confront Lin Yuan, their perceptions allowed them to deduce that the latter was stronger than them. Much stronger. For this opening of the divine gateway, the most hopeful to enter had now shifted from the four divine kings to Lin Yuan. Haha, Xiaqin supreme being's face revealed a smile. Over the past 200 years, he also hadn't pressed Lin Yuan much on his capabilities, feeling that it would create pressure. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 748. How did this line move on its own? Please subscribe. _2 Regardless of whether he was asked or not, Lin Yuan's strength would not be affected. Xiaqin supreme being felt it was best to let Lin Yuan perform by himself. At least the witch ancestors' 35 realms. Xiaqin supreme being judged internally that Lin Yuan had easily forced back the four divine kings and the other 6 powerhouses, all of whom were from the ancestor witch's 30 realms or 31 realms. Being just 2 or 3 realms stronger wouldn't achieve this feat. How does human civilization have such good luck? Far away, several ancestors of the Tianyu clan looked at each other, feeling somewhat envious. From the very beginning of their arrival, the Tianyu clan had been eliminated. Now that the heavenly gate was open, the strong members of the Tianyu clan simply could not be bothered to come. This powerhouse of human civilization, compared to his performance in the two-dimensional world, even surpasses the 4 divine kings. The hope of reaching the ultimate level in future must not be underestimated. The insect queens were quite worried since human civilization and the insect race were absolute mortal enemies, without any possibility of reconciliation. While there might be potential cooperation between the Star Alliance and human civilization, cooperation between the insect race and human civilization. Even if they met without fighting, cooperation would be impossible. In the insect queen's view, if human civilization produced another supreme being in the future, the pressure they would have to bear would surge significantly. Atop Heavenly Mountain, the 4 divine kings and the other 6 powerhouses wore expressions as solemn as water. They were the closest to Lin Yuan and knew very well what level of powerhouse they were dealing with. How is he so much stronger than me? A tumultuous wave surged in the heart of the 4 divine kings. For over 300 years, he had not spent a day without enduring grueling cultivation, constantly seeking to merge the ultimate weapon within his body. He had originally thought himself invincible in this two-dimensional world, confident that he could handle even an 11th rank complete legendary strength like the skinny old man. But Lin Yuan? A great fear kept emerging in the mind of the 4 divine kings at this moment. He had a feeling that he definitely could not defeat the other party. If he even thought of making a rash move, it could genuinely lead to life-threatening danger. What should we do now? Not far away, the skinny old man glanced at the 4 divine kings. While the 5 of them and the 4 divine kings were adversaries, they did not hesitate to join forces when confronted with a more formidable enemy. What to do? The 4 divine kings felt hesitant as well. The intention of the skinny old man was clear. Would the 6 of them join forces to test Lin Yuan, or simply leave right away? Let's leave, the 4 divine kings said after a deep look at Lin Yuan, slowly retreating down the mountain. He truly sensed a sort of life-threatening danger from Lin Yuan, so he decided to simply give up this chance at the opening of the heavenly gate. For the 4 divine kings, there was no point in fighting Lin Yuan for this chance at the heavenly gate. As long as he survived, there would be another opportunity to enter the heavenly gate next time. Why did he previously engage in combat with the skinny old man and others? It was entirely because the 4 divine kings felt no pressure and was fairly confident in defeating them. But now, the 4 divine kings had not a shred of confidence, and even faced the possibility of being brought down here, naturally knowing how to choose. To leave. Upon seeing the movements of the 4 divine kings, the other 5 powerhouses glanced at each other and began to retreat as well. The 5 of them had already had severe difficulty dealing with the 4 divine kings, let alone facing Lin Yuan, who dared not even engage. Couldn't believe none of us would be the ones to enter the heavenly gate, thought the skinny old man solemnly, his face tinged with sentimentality. The voluntary retreat of the 4 divine kings and the other 6 powerhouses caused tremors in the hearts of many watching from the myriad tribes. Retreating without fighting is a show of weakness. But are the 4 divine kings weak? How could they be weak? The mere pressure they emitted pushed 99% of the myriad tribes' powerhouses out of the mountain's waste. The residual impact from their previous wild engagement even caused many 11th-rank powerhouses to feel numbness in their scalps, not daring to stay at the summit any longer. But now, the 4 divine kings and the other 6 had voluntarily retreated and given up the chance to enter the heavenly gate. The only possible explanation was that the human blood rain standing in front of the heavenly gate was beyond the limit of what the 4 divine kings and the others could handle. The 4 divine kings didn't even contemplate engaging. They just left like that? In front of the heavenly gate, Lin Yuan's attention was mostly on the gate, but he was still aware of the 4 divine kings and the other 6 powerhouses. The heavenly gate is right here, not even trying to probe? Lin Yuan was slightly astonished. After all, his statement of whoever crosses this line shall be killed was specifically intended to provoke the 4 divine kings and the others. The reason was that they carried many wondrous items on them. Other powerhouses from the myriad tribes didn't dare to carry wondrous items for fear of being plundered, but for ones like the 4 divine kings and the skinny old man, beings of 11th rank perfect life, this wasn't a concern. Even to maintain their combat power, these 6 powerhouses carried multiple wondrous items on them. Therefore, from the start to the end, Lin Yuan had never intended to let these 6 powerhouses go. But if he were to attack and kill directly, there were many supreme beings watching from outside the canvas, and the 4 divine kings were associated with the Star Alliance, which did not have a bad relationship with human civilization. To kill without even asking would undoubtedly look a bit unsightly. Killing Tuoba ancient god and other special beings was one thing. Those had a minimal hope of reaching the ultimate level. But the 4 divine kings? Lin Yuan knew that the 4 divine kings were treasures of the Star Alliance, their status not inferior to his own in human civilization. Sarthan of Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 749 How did this line move on its own? Please subscribe. _3 That's why Lin Yuan did what he had just done, crossing the line to infuriate the 4 divine kings among the 6 powerhouses. As long as the other side became provoked and collectively crossed the line to confront Lin Yuan, just like the frail old man and the other 4 powerhouses teamed up to confront the 4 divine kings earlier, Lin Yuan would then have a reason to slay them and snatch their wonders. I said those who cross the line shall be killed. Now that you've all crossed it, my killing you wouldn't be excessive, would it? It's just that now. Lin Yuan hadn't anticipated that the 4 divine kings along with the other 5 powerhouses would be so cowardly. Did the aura I released just now scare them? Lin Yuan reflected on himself, roughly understanding the reason. Forget it, I won't pretend any longer. Lin Yuan sighed, no longer caring about appearance or reputation. The next moment, The black line that originally encircled most of the mountain peak suddenly began to expand. Almost in the blink of an eye, it had enclosed the 4 divine kings, the frail old man, and the other 5 powerhouses within it. The 4 divine kings had been planning to withdraw from the mountain peak, distancing themselves from Lin Yuan. But then they discovered, to their surprise, the black line drawn by Lin Yuan started to rapidly expand, and before he could react, he found himself already within its confines. How can the line move? The 4 divine kings were somewhat dazed. The frail old man and the other 5 powerhouses in the distance hadn't reacted either. They were moving away from Lin Yuan. How had they ended up within the black line? The 4 divine kings and the other powerhouses immediately realized something, turning to look at Lin Yuan, who stood before the gates of heaven. Alright, since you've all crossed the line, don't blame me for taking action. Lin Yuan turned slowly, his gaze calm as he spoke unhurriedly. If you want to make a move, don't bother looking for a reason. The 4 divine kings' eyes gradually filled with madness. With his quick thinking, he realized that Lin Yuan had never intended to let them go. The 4 divine kings' 4 arms glowed, emitting an aura far surpassing that of when they had clashed with the frail old man and the other 5 powerhouses. Lin Yuan appeared silently in front of the 4 divine kings, pressing down gently with his right hand. There was no intense collision, nor any ripple of strength released, as if it was merely a light touch, but the 4 divine kings' arms began to twist and deform, their limbs crumbled to dust, and they were sent flying backward, crashing harshly at the edge of the mountain peak. Supreme weapon indeed lives up to its reputation. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. If it hadn't been for the sudden protective force erupting from the 4 divine kings' arms just now, the opponent would have been annihilated by his palm strike. Even so, the current 4 divine kings had essentially lost 60% of their combat power. Go! Seeing this, the frail old man and the other 5 powerhouses, who initially planned to see if they could join forces with the 4 divine kings, saw the latter being severely injured by Lin Yuan and dared not linger any longer, fleeing in different directions. Think you can escape? Lin Yuan exhaled softly as a terrifying aura erupted from his body, the thick blood qi spreading in all directions, enveloping everything. Where the blood qi covered, the air turned viscous. The frail old man and the other 5 powerhouses felt as though they were carrying a massive mountain, their movements slowed to a crawl. In the 2-dimensional world, where the suppression degrades all extraordinary powers, the so-called fields and worlds simply cannot exist. The blood qi field Lin Yuan displayed wasn't a field or world, but a natural force field generated by his blood and physical strength reaching a certain level. Like in the cosmic starry sky, the larger the celestial body, the greater its natural influence and range. This was purely physical law, and it applied here in this 2-dimensional world too. Ah? The frail old man suddenly turned around because Lin Yuan had already appeared behind him. I have defensive wonders, you can't kill me. The frail old man didn't continue to flee but stopped to face Lin Yuan's attack. The 4 divine kings, with their respective perfect weapons, had refined such treasures and thus, showed no interest in wonders of the 2-dimensional world. With his strength, the 4 divine kings never believed he would need such defensive wonders. But the frail old man was different. He was wearing 2 defensive wonders and believed that, no matter how strong Lin Yuan was, it would be difficult for him to be killed. However, Lin Yuan struck out with his palm again. Whoosh! The terrifying force penetrated the frail old man's 2 defensive wonders, leaving only 100,000th of the strength to land on him. But even 100,000th of the strength was more than the frail old man could withstand. In an instant, his internal organs were shattered and he lost all resistance. Phew! Lin Yuan appeared instantly behind the 3rd powerhouse, delivering another palm strike. The 4th a palm strike. The 5th a palm strike. The myriad tribes' powerhouses who were watching the battle were shocked speechless at the one-sided slaughter. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would never believe that legendary level 11 perfect beings like the 4 divine kings and the frail old man could be so easily slaughtered. Other than a supreme being who could achieve this. At the deepest part of the 2-dimensional world. This area could no longer be considered part of the 2-dimensional world but a more concealed space. On a vast expanse of land, an old man barely half a meter tall lay leisurely in an armchair, his eyes squinted, relaxed. In front of him was a huge scroll. The scroll was filled with mist as if it contained a vast and real world. The half-meter-tall old man who was previously sleeping, was suddenly disturbed as if something had interrupted his slumber, opened his eyes, and glanced at the giant scroll in front of him. In just over 300 years, breaking through the limit of 30 worlds? Did I stumble upon a treasure this time? The half-meter-tall old man's eyes gleamed with surprise as he began to observe intently. No, this talent is too monstrous. I need to watch longer, Sir. The Novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After considering, the half-meter-tall old man thought, let's continue observing for another 10,000 years, to see to what heights you can eventually reach. Search The Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 750 Pushing Heaven's Gate, Seeking Subscriptions, Cosmic Starry Skies. The facial expressions of the Supreme Beings changed suddenly. In the two-dimensional world, at the summit of Heavenly Mountain, they became aware of the unfolding events in real time. The four divine kings, a thin old man and other 11th rank complete legendary strengths had barely come into contact with that human Shueyu, when they were gravely injured and near death. The two parties were simply not on the same level, with the former powerless to even struggle or resist in the presence of the latter. Even though they possessed defense treasures to protect themselves in the two-dimensional world, these defense treasures could only exert minimal power and were utterly incapable of blocking Lin Yuan's attack. Xia Qin, have your human evolvers stop, a supreme being from the Star Alliance urged, unable to sit still any longer. The four divine kings were the most likely candidates in the Star Alliance to reach ultimate 11th rank life. If they died simply like this in the two-dimensional world from fundamental losses to their spirit will, no one knew how long it would take to recover. It might even be possible that they could not recover at all, which would lessen their hopes of reaching the ultimate greatly. Xia Qin, let's talk this over, a supreme being from the Yu clan immediately communicated, as 2 of the 5 11th rank complete legendary lives came from the Yu clan. 11th rank complete legendary lives, even for the peak clans, were foundational, ranked on the reserve list for ultimate, and it was unknown how long one might take to emerge. Although dying in the two-dimensional world meant only the avatar perished, the fundamental loss would diminish the eventual probability of achieving the ultimate, which wasn't much different from a complete demise. The possibility of successfully achieving the ultimate was already minuscule, and further reduction made attempting to reach the ultimate no different from courting death. Oh. Xia Qin's supreme being glanced at the other ultimates who were continuously sending messages to him. We had already agreed not to interfere with our clan members' actions in the two-dimensional world. It's tough for me to do anything when you approach me like this, Xia Qin's supreme being said indifferently. I'm willing to offer, a supreme being from the Star Alliance immediately spoke. In the end, the Star Alliance paid a price that greatly satisfied Xia Qin's supreme being. Alright, let me ask first, Xia Qin's supreme being glanced at the Yu clan's supreme being. My clan is also willing to offer. The Yu clan's supreme being's heart was bleeding internally as he spoke stiffly. Virtual world. Lin Yuan stood in the personal world of the supreme being, looking up at Xia Qin's supreme being seated on the throne. The supreme being asked me to spare the 4 divine kings for now, Lin Yuan thought to himself, guessing that Xia Qin's supreme being might be negotiating with other ultimate beings. A moment later, a smile appeared on the face of Xia Qin's supreme being seated on the throne. Ha 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 ha. This really made those old guys bleed heavily, Xia Qin's supreme being began, sounding quite pleased. Bleed? Lin Yuan looked towards Xia Qin's supreme being. Yes. Xia Qin's supreme being nodded. How could they not pay a price to save their clan members? As he said this, Xia Qin's supreme being looked at Lin Yuan with satisfaction. About the 4 divine kings and others, there's no need to kill them now. They'll give you 80% of the compensation. Okay. Lin Yuan immediately agreed. Xia Qin's supreme being had only asked him to spare the 4 divine kings and the thin old man's lives and did not mention sparing their treasures. Lin Yuan could take all the treasures possessed by the 4 divine kings, the thin old man and the other strong beings, then spare their lives. By the way, for that ultimate weapon embedded in the 4 divine kings' body, don't forcibly extract it, Xia Qin's supreme being added. The one from the Star Alliance has agreed to trade for 2 ultimate weapons. Understood. Lin Yuan nodded. To Lin Yuan, the 4 divine kings' ultimate weapon was no different from ordinary treasures. Trading 1 for 2 was absolutely a great deal. Two-dimensional world. Atop the mountain. Lin Yuan's vigor surged, enveloping the entire mountain summit. The 4 divine kings, the thin old man, and the other 6 strong beings had completely lost their ability to resist. The numerous powerhouses of the myriad clans below the summit were in utter turmoil. The strength displayed by Lin Yuan was terrifyingly formidable, far surpassing the gap between the 4 divine kings and these Tier 10 and Tier 11 powerhouses. Why has this person from human civilization, Lord Shueyu, stopped attacking? Nonsense, it must be because the ultimate beings behind the 4 divine kings have reached out to the supreme being of the human civilization for negotiations, they speculated. Exactly, other special life forms avatars, even if they die in this 2-dimensional world, the Star Alliance wouldn't bother. But it's different for the 4 divine kings. He is their most hopeful candidate to become an ultimate. The myriad tribes' powerhouses were astonished internally, looking at Lin Yuan standing in the center of the summit, their souls trembling. If they had not been sure that those who descended into this 2-dimensional world were Tier 11 and below, they would even suspect that Lin Yuan was a supreme being. If he isn't a supreme being, how could he possibly suppress everything in this 2-dimensional world, growing at a speed far surpassing the 4 divine kings? A gap of 1 or 2 realms could still be comprehended, 3 or 4 realms were reluctantly acceptable. But the gap between Lin Yuan and the 4 divine kings was probably 10 or 20 realms. Many would believe it if he were called a supreme being. In the middle of the summit, Lin Yuan opened his eyes, looked toward the 4 divine kings, the thin old man and the other 6 strong beings and said, "Hand over all your treasures and you are free to leave." Hand over the treasures? The 4 divine kings and the others exchanged glances, slightly relieved inside. Although parting with their treasures was heart-wrenching, at least this avatar was preserved. The strongest weapon merged within my body, the 4 divine kings whispered softly. "You may keep it." Lin Yuan glanced briefly at the other. This had also been specially instructed by Xiaqin Supreme Being. The strongest weapon within the 4 divine kings was of little significance to Lin Yuan. Very soon, 6 powerhouses handed over all the extraordinary items they carried. Among them, the 4 divine kings had 4 extraordinary items, the thin old man had 5, and the other 4 collectively had 18. From this battle alone, Lin Yuan had acquired 27 extraordinary items, which added to those he had collected over the past 300 years, brought the total to over 30. This total didn't even include what other supreme beings had paid Lin Yuan to spare the lives of the 4 divine kings and the other 6 powerhouses. All in all, as long as Lin Yuan could make it out of the 2-dimensional world smoothly, his gain would reach an unprecedented level, amassing a wealth that an 11th rank powerhouse couldn't accumulate in 10 lifetimes. After storing all the extraordinary items in the mirror's inner space, Lin Yuan voluntarily suppressed his own aura, gradually dissipating the blood and force field spreading over the entire summit. "You may leave now." Lin Yuan turned around, standing afresh before the heavenly gate. From attacking the 4 divine kings and the other powerhouses to completely suppressing them, and receiving instructions from Xiaqin Supreme Being, not much time had actually passed. Even now, the heavenly gate in front of him had not fully materialized. "Are you a supreme being?" the 4 divine kings suddenly asked before leaving. If Lin Yuan were a supreme being, he could somewhat accept the defeat more gracefully, as losing to a supreme being wasn't shameful. A supreme being? Lin Yuan shook his head. "I am not." He was not only not a supreme being, but he wasn't even an 11th rank life. Not a supreme being, the 4 divine kings fell silent. Given Lin Yuan's capabilities, he seemed unlikely to lie, probably some hidden 11th rank evolver from human civilization. "I will remember this battle forever," the 4 divine kings said deeply, looking at Lin Yuan intensely before departing. Since their inception, they had never experienced such a crushing defeat, one so decisively executed. The 4 divine kings rapidly moved away. The injuries Lin Yuan caused had largely healed. For a power from ancestor witches 30 realms, as long as the brain and heart weren't shattered, injuries to other organs would swiftly recover. "We shall leave as well." The thin old man and the other 4 powerhouses also rapidly departed. For a time, the summit of Heavenly Mountain was left with only Lin Yuan. To be precise, at the edge of the summit, there were also Shenyuan Dua and several other human evolvers. Besides them, all powerhouses from the myriad clans, including even those 11th rank powerhouses, had withdrawn from the summit's vicinity, only daring to observe from midway up the mountain. Too strong. Ho Zhu of the prison tribe stood in a corner near the summit, staring at Lin Yuan standing before the heavenly gate, flooded with a sense of immense despair. Initially, he thought that with the mysteries within his crimson long knife and after understanding many killing moves, He might try to compete for an opportunity to enter when the heavenly gate opened. But reality had harshly slapped him. Without mentioning the others, just the 4 divine kings and the thin old man could crush him, let alone Lin Yuan, who emerged out of nowhere and crushed the likes of the 4 divine kings. Lord Xueyu is so powerful? On the side of human civilization, Shen Yuan Dua and the other evolvers were bewildered. The surprise came too suddenly for them. How had they done nothing, yet Lin Yuan was already standing before the heavenly gate, just waiting for it to fully materialize so he could enter. Why isn't the Galaxy Master here yet? Among the group of 11th rank evolvers, Nalan refocused and began to look around the middle slopes, searching for the Galaxy Master. Is this the heavenly gate? Compared to the shock of the many powerhouses from the myriad clans, Lin Yuan returned his focus to the heavenly gate before him. The gate was now almost fully materialized, its intricate, mysterious patterns, along with a faint oppressive force, made Lin Yuan's expression solemn. Although the heavenly gate's impression was far less compared to the door to the myriad realms, it was still slightly stronger than Xiaqin Supreme Being. Not long before, Lin Yuan had personally witnessed Xiaqin Supreme Being reversing the river of time to resurrect past lives that had died. Time passed. Finally, at a certain moment, the heavenly gate fully materialized. Rumble. At the moment the heavenly gate appeared, a terrifying oppressive force spread in all directions. Lin Yuan frowned slightly. He felt something was off. With his strength he could naturally easily withstand this oppressive force. But that was because Lin Yuan was at the Witch Ancestor's 50th realm, and this force had already surpassed what a normal Witch Ancestor at the 20th realm could handle. If every time the heavenly gate opened, it was with such oppressive force, what could the Witch Emperor and Witch Ancestor among those native lives use to enter the heavenly gate? Sir, the novel, Ire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Let's push the heavenly gate open first. Lin Yuan gathered his thoughts, and as soon as the heavenly gate fully materialized, he just needed to push it open to enter. This was also the step that native powerhouses had to perform after the opening of the heavenly gate in the past. Thinking this, Lin Yuan raised his hands, placed them on the heavenly gate and then pushed hard. A few breaths later, Lin Yuan's expression slightly changed. He actually could not push the heavenly gate open? Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 751 Through the Ages, 8,000 words. Please subscribe. Can't push it. Lin Yuan frowned. Sar the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The force he used to push the heavenly gate was not his full strength. But what was Lin Yuan's power? The 50th realm of the Witch Ancestor. And a Witch Ancestor of the 50th realm with each realm in complete perfection. Even if he used only a 10th or even a 100th of his strength, it was enough to utterly suppress and thrash the 4 divine kings and other 11th rank complete legendary lives. And now he couldn't move the heavenly gate? There's a problem. Lin Yuan withdrew his hands, carefully observing the heavenly gate before him. The force he had just exerted was perhaps tens of thousands of times that of the native Witch Emperors and Witch Ancestors, yet he couldn't budge the heavenly gate at all. So, how did the native Witch Emperors and Witch Ancestors manage to open the heavenly gate, and then enter it in the past? Lin Yuan's thoughts diverged, and after pondering for a moment he decided to try pushing the heavenly gate again. Placing his palms flat on the gate, Lin Yuan centered himself and quietly closed his eyes. Open for me. The originally calm Lin Yuan suddenly opened his eyes, a terrifying aura bursting forth instantly. The air around him nearly solidified, his potent blood energy surging like a vast ocean, making the entire mountaintop seem as if it were teetering on the brink, ready to collapse under the force of Lin Yuan's outburst. All-out effort. This was the first time in 200 years that Lin Yuan had gone all out. Since stepping into the 20th realm of the Witch Ancestor, Lin Yuan had never unleashed his full power because there had been no adversary worthy of such respect. Rumbling thunderously, the terrifying blood energy was boiling like scorching magma. Beneath the summit, many watching powerhouses from the myriad clans were trembling uncontrollably in their souls. The aura that Lin Yuan released at this moment, compared to his earlier scuffle with the 4 divine kings, was absolutely different, terrifying beyond measure. What kind of power is this? The human blood rain just suppressed the 4 divine kings and didn't even use his full strength. The mighty 4 divine kings and 6 other 11th rank perfect lives, not only crushed by a human powerhouse but also without forcing him to reveal his true methods? The shock among the myriad tribes' powerhouses can be imagined. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed that in this two-dimensional world that suppressed everything, a powerhouse could elevate their strength to such a level. And that it was a human evolver? Still can't push it open? Even after giving his all, Lin Yuan still couldn't move the heavenly gate before him. The amount of power I'm currently unleashing could penetrate this heavenly mountain beneath my feet, yet I can't open this heavenly gate? Lin Yuan found it absurd. If the heavenly gate was truly so difficult to open, then how did those native witch emperors and witch ancestors who managed to open it explain it? Could it be that this heavenly gate distinguished who was pushing it? Was there a different standard for powerhouses from the myriad clans pushing the heavenly gate compared to the native powerhouses? Even if the standards were different, with Lin Yuan's current power, he should have reached the threshold, right? I don't believe with my current power, I can't open this mere heavenly gate. Lin Yuan's expression turned solemn, and having used almost all conventional methods, he was left with only the moves he would use in a life-and-death situation. Milky Way main star. Lin Yuan was sitting cross-legged, and everything happening in the two-dimensional world was no different from what his real body underwent. Divine skill. Strengthening. Lin Yuan whispered, and in an instant, deep within his body, the divine ability imprint belonging to the strengthening divine skill began to spread pervasively, enveloping his flesh, soul, and everything else. In the two-dimensional world, where all supernatural methods were suppressed, including physical body divine abilities. Thus, the Taiyang divine spirit in the two-dimensional world couldn't activate any physical body divine ability. However, his real body outside the two-dimensional world could. The strengthening divine skill, once activated, would enhance everything about Lin Yuan tenfold, including his physical body, soul, spirit, will, and so on. And while the Taiyang divine spirit in the two-dimensional world was isolated physically and spiritually, the spirit will was not. This meant that once Lin Yuan's true body activated the strengthening divine skill, the spirit will of the Taiyang divine spirit in the two-dimensional world would increase tenfold. Even though spirit will could not directly increase strength, it allowed more precise control over power, which could then unleash greater strength. Why do 11th rank powerhouses among the myriad clans rise so much faster and grow quicker than those of the 9th and 10th ranks? Own realm was one factor, a strong spirit will was another. Therefore, the dramatic increase in Lin Yuan's spirit will significantly boosted his strength. Rumbling thunderously. Accompanied by a tenfold increase in Lin Yuan's spirit will, the quasi-ethereal blood and fire surrounding him seemed to emanate an even more terrifying aura. At that moment, the many myriad tribes' powerhouses watching from the mountainside were so shocked they were rendered speechless. To them, Lin Yuan felt even more majestic and imposing than the heavenly mountain beneath their feet, as if he were about to break the many constraints of the two-dimensional world and break free. A moment later, the aura emitted by Lin Yuan gradually retracted. Even after using the physical body divine ability strengthening, he still hadn't shaken the heavenly gate in the slightest, let alone opened it. After using the physical body divine ability strengthening, Lin Yuan would experience a brief period of weakness. Yet to the many myriad tribes' powerhouses at the mountainside, this so-called weakness was barely noticeable as he only temporarily fell from the Witch Ancestor 50 realm to the Witch Ancestor 45th realm. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 752 Through the Ages, 8,000 words. Please subscribe. _2 And for those amongst the myriad tribes' powerhouses, there was no difference between the two. As for the main body outside the two-dimensional world, the Taiyang primordial spirit, it was not in a dangerous environment and likewise, it was unhindered. Still can't push it open? Lin Yuan's expression was silent as he stared at the heavenly gate before him, frowning in deep thought. If even with all his methods deployed he couldn't open the heavenly gate, then which of the powerhouses from the myriad tribes within this two-dimensional world could? I am at the Witch Ancestor 50 realm, which is equivalent to the Witch Ancestor 60-70 realms of other powerhouses from myriad clans. Combined with the amplification from the physical body divine ability enhancement, my strength in the short term could probably rival that between Witch Ancestor 90 to 100 realms. Lin Yuan looked at the heavenly gate before him, thinking to himself, below the mountain peak. Many powerhouses from the myriad tribes finally recovered from their shock. Soon, one of the powerhouses realized something. That was, the heavenly gate before Lin Yuan, was it still not pushed open? What does this mean? With the strength of the human blood rain, can't he push the heavenly gate open? Impossible. If even blood rain can't push open the heavenly gate, how did those witch emperors and witch ancestors enter it before? All the powerhouses from myriad tribes were in an uproar, although most of them had no relationship with entering the heavenly gate. But now, seeing that the heavenly gate, which had been seen as the hope for leaving the two-dimensional world for over 300 years, was nearly impossible to push open, their hearts couldn't help but swell with a sense of desolation. If the heavenly gate couldn't be opened, then what was the point of these myriad tribes' powerhouses madly cultivating and desperately enhancing their strength over these 300 years? Wouldn't their behavior of hunting everywhere for oddities be utterly laughable? If they collected all the oddities within the entire two-dimensional world, but couldn't take them out, wouldn't it be the same as garbage? As strong as the human blood rain is, if he can't open the heavenly gate, I might as well give up on this avatar. One after another, the powerhouses from the myriad tribes began to fade away within the two-dimensional world. Giving up on an avatar was equivalent to a fundamental loss, and no powerhouse was willing to bear it. But if there really was no hope of leaving, it might be a relief to give up earlier. At least they wouldn't have to continue worrying and fearing within the two-dimensional world. Sar the novel underscore. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Outside the scroll. The complexions of the supreme beings were unsightly. The heavenly gate can't be pushed open? Under such circumstances, doesn't that mean there's no hope of leaving? How is that possible? Before, the heavenly gate could be opened, but now it can't? The supreme beings talked amongst themselves. They had originally deduced that the heavenly gate of the two-dimensional world would be the passage connecting the inside and the outside. But they had never expected that the heavenly gate could not be pushed open. Xia Qin. The supreme beings of the Star Alliance and the Yu Clan supreme beings and others changed their expressions, looking towards Xia Qin's supreme being. Just now, to purchase the lives of the 4 divine kings, the skinny old man, and the other 6 tier 11 perfect strong ones, they had paid a significant price to Xia Qin's supreme being. But now, if the heavenly gate couldn't be opened, wouldn't that mean their price was paid in vain? Because if they couldn't leave through the heavenly gate, the fate of the 4 divine kings and other strong ones would still be death, with the only difference being whether they died in battle or of old age. All trades are done. How do you plan to back out? Xia Qin's supreme being glanced at the other supreme beings from different species, without a hint of pleasure for having the upper hand. Because, if the heavenly gate couldn't be opened, not only did it mean the fate of the 4 divine kings and other strong ones, but Lin Yuan's fate would be the same. Unable to open the heavenly gate and trapped in the two-dimensional world, without the ability to control the rule of time to slow down the flow, they would have to die in, at most, 100,000 to 200,000 years. And 100,000 to 200,000 years in the two-dimensional world was equivalent to just 1 or 2,000 years in the main universe. Compared to facing a fundamental loss, Xia Qin's supreme being would rather have not had those gains. Gentlemen, the inability to open the heavenly gate is probably related to the fact that the powerhouses of myriad clans were absorbed into it, causing some changes to the two-dimensional world within white paper, said a one-horned supreme being, voicing his speculation. At these words, the other supreme beings nodded slightly. They also had similar thoughts. Otherwise, why could the witch emperors open the heavenly gate before the descent of the powerhouses from myriad clans, and now, even the blood rain of human civilization was blocked outside? Let's wait and see. There might be some other change. The numerous supreme beings continued to observe the massive scroll from afar. The supreme beings from Star Alliance and others, although they wanted to cancel the trade with Xia Qin's supreme being, had already sent out their treasures, so it was too late for regrets. With the strength of human civilization to get those treasures back, they would have to start a full-scale war, which was almost hopeless. Even if they started a full-scale war, it would be a case of causing substantial damage to the enemy but suffering heavy losses themselves, absolutely meaningless. In the two-dimensional world, Lin Yuan stood in front of the heavenly gate but chose not to continue trying. Since even utilizing the physical body divine ability enhancement couldn't move the heavenly gate, any further attempts would be futile. Could it be that this heavenly gate is specifically targeting me? Lin Yuan suddenly thought, a conjecture that seemed incredible but now needed consideration. On the side of the human civilization evolvers, Shenyuan Dua and the other 11th rank evolvers were equally puzzled as to why the heavenly gate hadn't been opened. Just then, a voice suddenly rang in their ears. Xinyuan Dua, come here a moment. Yes. Xinyuan Dua immediately realized that it was Lin Yuan calling her. She swiftly headed towards the heavenly gate. Lord Shuiyu. Before the heavenly gate, Xinyuan Dua bowed slightly to Lin Yuan with some restraint. Before this day, Xinyuan Dua certainly respected Lin Yuan, but it was merely respect. In her view, she was also an 11th rank life, and even the 5th tier of 11th rank life. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 753 Through the Ages, 8,000 words. Please subscribe. _3 Even if Lin Yuan was stronger than her, the gap between them wouldn't be too large. But now, having witnessed Lin Yuan effortlessly defeating the 4 divine kings and other 11th rank perfect lives, as well as the earth-shattering aura he had just released, at this moment, Xinyuan Dua's attitude towards Lin Yuan had changed. It was no longer respect, but reverence, and he almost treated Lin Yuan like a half-supreme being. In Xinyuan Dua's view, Lin Yuan's strength in the two-dimensional world had already far exceeded the pinnacle that normal 11th rank life forms could achieve. Try to push the heavenly gate, Lin Yuan instructed. To confirm whether the heavenly gate selectively targeted him or not was simple. Just let other powerhouses push it as well. Okay, Xinyuan Dua did not doubt and walked to the front of the heavenly gate, starting to push it. Lord Shuiyu, I can't push it, Xinyuan Dua immediately said. You can't push it either? Lin Yuan looked thoughtful. Next, Lin Yuan randomly selected several other powerhouses from the myriad tribes. Source, web novel. Com, updated on N0 New 0. He had them all stand in front of the heavenly gate and try to push it open. The result was the same. They couldn't move it. Try with the natives of the two-dimensional world. After dozens of attempts, Lin Yuan confirmed it wasn't just him. Other powerhouses from the myriad clans couldn't open the heavenly gate either, so he decided to let the natives of the two-dimensional world have a try. On the mountainside, in a corner at the edge, Yen Fu, who had just entered the Witch Ancestor realm, was shivering under the unintentional release of aura by the numerous myriad tribes' powerhouses. Even so, Yen Fu felt his journey was absolutely worth it because, here he witnessed a terrifying battle that had never occurred in past history. Especially that young man standing in front of the heavenly gate. His every move made Yen Fu feel an impulse to worship him like facing the vast universe. So strong, so strong. Even if all the witch ancestors who have ever existed were combined, they would not compare to a single hair of that powerhouse. Yen Fu thought, filled with shock. Suddenly, a voice came through, come here for a moment. Yen Fu paused slightly, instinctively looking towards the mountain summit, to Lin Yuan standing in front of the heavenly gate, and found that he was looking at him. Me? Yen Fu was somewhat incredulous. Could it be that he, a mere ant, had attracted the attention of a powerhouse like Lin Yuan? Okay. For some reason besides fear, a tinge of excitement rose in Yen Fu's heart. What an honor it was to stand before Lin Yuan, a powerhouse without precedent. Soon, under the watchful eyes of many powerhouses from the myriad tribes, Yen Fu walked up to Lin Yuan. Sir. Yen Fu bowed deeply to Lin Yuan with the utmost respect. Even though Lin Yuan's aura was restrained at the moment, not putting any pressure on Yen Fu, he dared not act recklessly. The scene reminiscent of the heavens shattering was still circling in his mind. To him, Lin Yuan was an insurmountable mountain, so high that he couldn't even look up to it. Go and push the heavenly gate, see if you can open it, Lin Yuan said tersely. If Yen Fu, a native witch of the two-dimensional world, could open the heavenly gate, that would mean that the threshold for myriad tribes' powerhouses and native beings to open the heavenly gate was different. No problem, Yen Fu steadied himself and walked to the front of the heavenly gate, beginning to push. A moment later, Sir, I can't open it, Yen Fu said cautiously. I see, Lin Yuan nodded. He also came to a conclusion. There was no difference between the myriad tribes' powerhouses and the native lives in terms of opening the heavenly gate. Is it because of our descent that has caused the difficulty of opening the heavenly gate to skyrocket? Lin Yuan thought to himself. At this point, that was the only explanation that made sense. How much has the difficulty of opening the heavenly gate skyrocketed? What kind of strength is needed to open it? SAR the Novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lin Yuan wondered, feeling for the moment just like the other powerhouses, aimless and uninspired, not knowing what his goal was. Is there something wrong with my state of mind? Lin Yuan immediately realized his change. The ripples that had constantly affected his state of mind suddenly became calm. In just over 300 years, I have already reached the Witch Ancestor 50 realm, and by the time the Heavenly Gate appears again, my strength will far exceed what it is now. Lin Yuan's gaze revealed a sharp determination. Even if I can't make it the next time the Heavenly Gate opens, there will be the time after that and the time after that. With my extraordinary aptitude, as long as I have time, there are infinite possibilities, Lin Yuan thought, his state of mind more resolute than ever. As time passed, the manifested Heavenly Gate began to slowly dissipate. The Heavenly Gate is disappearing? It seems that even blood rain couldn't enter the Heavenly Gate. What do we do now? Is there still a need to stay in this two-dimensional world? The many powerhouses of the myriad tribes felt an exceptional despair. The Heavenly Gate is going to disappear, said Lin Yuan, who was standing in front of it, noticing the changes in the Heavenly Gate. However, Lin Yuan did not stop it, but quietly watched as the Heavenly Gate fully disappeared. Continue cultivating, set a goal. In 10,000 years, by the next opening of the Heavenly Gate, I must at least have reached the Witch Ancestor 100th realm, said Lin Yuan, decisively turning around and leaving the summit of Heavenly Mountain. What Lin Yuan didn't know was that he could not open the Heavenly Gate, and it had nothing to do with his own strength. It was because at the very depths of the two-dimensional world, a mysterious entity wanted to clearly see his growth rate over the upcoming 10,000 years. So, the Heavenly Gate that had opened this time was directly locked. No life form could open and enter it. Even if Lin Yuan possessed tremendous strength, unless he could completely break the restrictions and suppressions of the two-dimensional world, the Heavenly Gate would remain unopenable. And completely breaking the two-dimensional world's limits and suppressions was something even a supreme being could not accomplish. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 754 Through the Ages, 8,000 words. Please subscribe. For the 12th rank supreme being could indeed withstand being pulled into white paper, but once they fell into it, they'd similarly be suppressed, barely able to display some extraordinary powers, much like those oddities. But that was all. There was still an immensely long way to go to break free from the suppression of the two-dimensional world. Luo River Gathering Area. After leaving the summit of Heavenly Mountain, Lin Yuan returned here. After Witch Ancestor 50 realm, the difficulty of advancing further vastly exceeds that before the 50 realms, Lin Yuan thought to himself. This was also the goal he had set for himself, which is why he aimed to only cultivate up to Witch Ancestor 100th realm before the next door to the Heavenly realm opened. It took over 300 years to reach the Witch Ancestor 50th realm, but the subsequent 10,000 years brought only an increase to the 100th realm because the space for progress after the 50th realm was too small. The difficulty from the 50th to the 11th realm would likely exceed that from the 1st to the 50th realm. Conventional seclusion doesn't have much effect, Lin Yuan thought to himself. In fact, even if I can't push open the Heavenly Gate, I still have a possibility to escape the two-dimensional world. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. Supreme beings couldn't rescue anyone through white paper, but Lin Yuan, by using the door to the myriad realms, more precisely, the physical body transit of the door to the myriad realms, could indeed leave this two-dimensional world. It only cost 50 strands of world-breaking origin force. But there was still a problem with doing so. That was, after ending the transit, when his Taiyang divine spirit returned to the main universe, would it still appear inside the two-dimensional world? If it did appear again, such corporeal transit would be meaningless because it would still be suppressed by the two-dimensional world. Moreover, the spirit will's transit method of the door to the myriad realms faced this same issue of whether it would still appear in the two-dimensional world upon return. Let's continue observing. Lin Yuan gathered his thoughts. Unless absolutely necessary, Lin Yuan wouldn't easily resort to this method. Directly disappearing from within the two-dimensional world? Current signs indicate that the white paper squeezed into the universe might possess an independent will. At the very least, it seemed to be an entity similar to the spirit of the mysterious realm in Shenhuang's secret realm. Otherwise, how could one explain the altered difficulty of opening the Heavenly Gate after the arrival of the myriad tribes' powerhouses? Therefore, directly using the door to the myriad realms to escape from the two-dimensional world, even if just temporarily, would certainly attract the attention of that being within the two-dimensional world itself. Escaping the suppressive restrictions of the two-dimensional world isn't something even a 12th rank supreme being can do lightly, and for Lin Yuan to do so would be too conspicuous. As for Lin Yuan, the worst plan would be to abandon his Taiyang divine spirit, even if it resulted in defects in the martial path evolutionary path, but with Against Heaven's understanding, it wasn't impossible to make up for the deficiencies. Even if he couldn't compensate, since Lin Yuan was able to pave a martial path evolutionary path, he could also develop other evolutionary paths not weaker than the martial Dao, simply switching to another evolutionary path. Given Lin Yuan's current status in human civilization, starting over would be much easier than before. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Yuan's spirit turned back to cultivation. When activating divine skill enhancement, my spirit will significantly sharpens, furthering my control over power, and from there revealing more about the true essence of this world, Lin Yuan mused to himself. If I get a chance next, I might as well frequently activate physical body divine ability enhancement. The biggest risk of physical body divine ability enhancement is that after its activation, it leads to a brief period of weakness. But if one ensures being in a sufficiently safe environment, it can also serve as a method of cultivation. The strengthening of the spirit will not only greatly benefit Lin Yuan's understanding of the essence of the power in this two-dimensional world, but the comprehension of many laws by the true body in the outside world will also improve in efficiency as the spirit strengthens, enhancing performance in all aspects. As for the subsequent period of weakness, it's merely a weakening of strength with no actual impact on the comprehension of laws. Xiaoyu Evolution Tower. Xia Qin Supreme Being looked at Lin Yuan, concerned, and asked, "Is the heavenly gate truly impenetrable?" The inability to open the heavenly gate had already been recognized by the myriad tribes' powerhouses. Even the human blood rain, who dominated over the 4 divine kings, couldn't open it. It almost pronounced the death sentence of all the myriad tribes' powerhouses within the two-dimensional world. However, Xia Qin Supreme Being still wanted to understand more about the situation. "It can't be pushed open," Lin Yuan said, nodding his head. There was no need to lie or hide anything in front of a Supreme Being. "This is troubling," Xia Qin Supreme Being said, somewhat headache-prone. If the heavenly gate couldn't be opened, it meant Lin Yuan couldn't leave the two-dimensional world on his own initiative. And outside the painting, these Supreme Beings couldn't influence the interior of the two-dimensional world either, equating to falling into a vicious cycle. While some Supreme Beings proposed to wait and see, perhaps there would be a change after the next opening of the heavenly gate, Xia Qin Supreme Being was still quite worried. "What are your plans now?" Xia Qin Supreme Being asked. "Continue cultivating, waiting for the next opening of the heavenly gate," Lin Yuan said calmly. See Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Good. Xia Qin Supreme Being nodded, sensing that Lin Yuan's mindset had not been affected at all, which was quite exceptional. Many strong individuals could persevere in the face of adversity. But to remain unyielding in the face of a hopeless or deadly situation was exceedingly difficult. Undoubtedly, the 300 years before the arrival of the myriad tribes' powerhouses in the two-dimensional world were the years of greatest strength improvement, already reaching the world's bottleneck. Even after another 10,000 years, the improvement in personal strength might not be as significant as in those first 300 years. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 755 Through the Ages, 8,000 words, please subscribe. _5 Advance another step at the top of the 100-foot pole. How easy is that to say? Don't worry, I've already discussed it with the other Supreme Beings. If it really doesn't work in the end, we'll use the ancestral force to see if we can forcefully break through that white paper. The Xia Qin Supreme Being said solemnly. Ever since the white paper squeezed into the universe, the Xia Qin Supreme Being and other existences have been carefully probing without using any drastic measures. The first reason is the fear of causing more changes in the white paper. The second is to avoid damaging the white paper as much as possible. But now, with all the probing methods proving ineffective, there's only the option of breaking through by force left. Thank you, Supreme Being. Lin Yuan said. The ancestral force of human civilization definitely should not be used lightly, especially in the face of the white paper whose details are unknown. But Lin Yuan is too important to human civilization, and the 9 Supreme Beings, including Xia Qin, didn't want to see Lin Yuan's avatar fall in the two-dimensional world and suffer fundamental losses. Leaving the personal world of the Xia Qin Supreme Being, Lin Yuan's true body then continued to sense the rule fluctuations. Out of the 12 guiding spaces on the Black Planet, I have taken 10. Lin Yuan mused. In the recent 2 to 3 years, he had gradually deduced 3 more pillar-level fusion rules. At Lin Yuan's level, it was easy to deduce pillar-level fusion rules. The difficult part was cultivating these pillar-level fusion rules to a higher realm. Lin Yuan's first comprehended life and death samsara rule still hovered at the second realm, and even with the assistance of the black planet's guiding spaces, it was still a short distance from the third realm. I am still too greedy. Lin Yuan shook his head lightly, forgetting that he was only at the 10th rank. The ultimate goal of a 10th rank strong person probably is just to comprehend one pillar-level fusion rule and rank as grade A. Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Yet now, speaking of pillar-level fusion rules, Lin Yuan could deduce them as he wished, and the pillar-level rules he deduced were powerful fusion rules merged from more than 3 pillar rules. Virtual World. Nalan, the Deputy Tower Master, found Lin Yuan. Galaxy Master, you really should go take a look at Heavenly Mountain. Nalan, the Deputy Tower Master, couldn't help but say. At the peak of Heavenly Mountain, when the Celestial Gate opened, Nalan, the Deputy Tower Master, searched for Lin Yuan among many myriad tribes' powerhouses but couldn't find him. So, it was assumed that Lin Yuan didn't go to Heavenly Mountain. And that was quite normal. Not all myriad tribes' powerhouses would venture to Heavenly Mountain. For example, the powerful members of the Chanyu clan hardly went to Heavenly Mountain. And some myriad tribes' powerhouses who knew they had no hope of entering the Celestial Gate did not go to Heavenly Mountain either. In Nalan, the Deputy Tower Master's view, Lin Yuan was likely among the latter, and as the most powerful genius in the history of human civilization, his appearance at Heavenly Mountain would probably attract the attention of other myriad tribes' powerhouses and thereby cause unnecessary trouble. The blood rain figure of our human civilization went on a killing spree at the peak of Heavenly Mountain, crushing supreme special beings like the 4 divine kings into the dust. Tisk. Nalan, the Deputy Tower Master, spoke with a tone of emotion, and even now, the scenes from the peak of Heavenly Mountain kept flashing through his mind. It was just too domineering. Could the evolvers of human civilization actually be so dominant in the presence of those unique and special existences? Lin Yuan nodded. Without offering much explanation. For a 10th rank being to thrash the Tier 11 perfect special beings like the 4 divine kings, if such news were to spread out, it would definitely cause the pinnacle figures of the insect race in the Chanyu clan to lose sleep. Rather than that, it's better to keep it under wraps, which was also the advice given by the Xiaqin Supreme Being. Until one has sufficient strength, it is best to lay low. It's not that human civilization couldn't offer protection, but it would save a lot of trouble. Human civilization, too, grew to its current strength through a long period of laying low. I wonder which evolver of human civilization the Blood Rain is and if I have the privilege to meet them, Nalan, the Deputy Tower Master, said with a hint of longing in his voice. He was also an 11th rank evolver, but he didn't dare to feel any pride in the presence of the Blood Rain figure. Meet the Blood Rain? Lin Yuan glanced at Nalan, the Deputy Tower Master. Without saying anything. Two-dimensional world. After a short period of seclusion, Lin Yuan took the initiative to leave the Luochuan gathering area and began to travel around every corner of the two-dimensional world. Past the Witch Ancestor 50 realm, simple seclusion no longer had much effect on strength improvement. What Lin Yuan needed to do was to walk every place in the two-dimensional world, to observe the essence of its power from different angles, continuously break the constraints of the world and further improve his strength. Years flowed gently by. After that, Lin Yuan never showed up again, having traversed each phase of the 12 ancient countries and eventually leaving their territories, exploring towards the even more vast desolate regions. Atop the mountain ranges. In the depths of the wilderness. Beneath the vast seas. Lin Yuan passed by as if an observer detached from the world. Time flowed like water and before he knew it 10,000 years had passed. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 756 Transformation of Power, please subscribe. Black Planet, the Life and Death Samsara Guide in Space. An incarnation of Lin Yuan sat in this place, observing the ceaseless cycle of life and death before him. Life is death and death is life. The cycles of life and death are merely different aspects of the samsara rule. So that's how it is, Lin Yuan was spirited, his understanding of the life and death samsara rule had broken through certain shackle, reaching a new level. The fourth realm. The fourth realm of the life and death samsara rule. In the two-dimensional world, a millennium had passed, while a century had gone by in the main universe. 150 years ago, Lin Yuan comprehended the life and death samsara rule. 100 years ago, the life and death samsara rule reached the second realm. Now, after another 100 years, Lin Yuan's understanding of the life and death samsara rule had surpassed the third realm and attained the fourth realm. The life and death samsara rule, although it only encompasses two pillar-level fusion rules of life and death, CTH Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Essentially, it explicates the samsara rule. Without being in this guiding space, I estimate it would take over 10 times longer to reach my current level. Lin Yuan felt quite emotional inside. Due to his heaven-defying understanding, no bottleneck or shackle could block his path for long. If it were any other evolver, it wouldn't just be a matter of time, they probably couldn't cross over even at the end of their lifespan. Not to mention other races, among human civilization alone, there are not a few 11th rank evolvers stuck in the third and fourth realm of pillar-level fusion rules. To cultivate to the tier 11, each is without exception the strongest genius of their era. This guiding space is of no use to me now. At this moment, Lin Yuan looked around at the intertwined and fused rules of life and death, feeling no further impact in his heart, because he had now reached a realm in this fusion of rules that equaled the height of the guiding space. Simply put, Lin Yuan had fully comprehended this guiding space. Now that the life and death samsara rule has reached the fourth realm, and several other pillar-level fusion rules like the Great Destruction rule are at the third realm peak, I could step into the fourth realm at any moment. He thought to himself that while concurrently contemplating multiple fusion rules could disperse one's focus and energy, the simultaneous advance and collision among the different fusion rules often brought about unexpected propulsion effects for Lin Yuan. Whether it was the life and death samsara rule or the Great Destruction rule, they are all part of the chaos rules with the same origin. I can tell the Xiaqin Supreme Being to arrange for 10th rank evolvers from human civilization to take my place. Lin Yuan thought silently. Since this guiding space was no longer effective for Lin Yuan, then he might as well rent it out. After all, according to the price previously agreed upon with the Xiaqin Supreme Being, a guiding space is worth 100 million merit points. Let's go. Lin Yuan turned and left the guiding space. Outside the guiding space, the figure of Lin Yuan appeared. The next moment, not far away, a figure with a stern face wearing a black robe materialized. Why have you come out? The black-robed figure was taken aback and frowned at Lin Yuan. The Black Planet's 12 guiding spaces, each life was only allowed to enter a certain guiding space once. In other words, they cannot be re-entered. Lin Yuan had spent just over 100 years in the life and death samsara guidance space before he voluntarily walked out. According to the rules of the Black Planet, he could not re-enter the life and death samsara guidance space again. This made the black-robed figure somewhat regretful. It took Lin Yuan only 50 years to break through from the first realm to the second realm in the life and death samsara rule. Regarding talent and aptitude, he was absolutely the most monstrous, the most aberrant 10th rank life in the black-robed figure's memory. But even if one was that monstrous and aberrant, it was extremely foolish to leave the guiding space before reaching the fourth realm of the life and death samsara rule. Because this guiding space is no longer of any use to me. Lin Yuan glanced at the black-robed figure and spoke. No longer of any use? The black-robed figure was a little slow to react, then looked at Lin Yuan with disbelief. You've reached the fourth realm? Only those who had reached the fourth realm were qualified to say that the guiding space was of no use to them. 100 years ago, Lin Yuan's life and death samsara rule reached the second realm, and he unintentionally revealed his aura, disturbing the balance of life and death within the guiding space. This allowed the black-robed figure to surmise that Lin Yuan had reached the second realm. After that, Lin Yuan reached the third realm, and just now the fourth realm, without revealing any aura or disturbing the balance of life and death within the guiding space. Obviously the black-robed figure did not know Lin Yuan's exact level. Yes. Lin Yuan nodded, raised his right hand, lines of life and death coiled around his fingertips, and in a vague sense, a vast great wheel of samsara appeared. Really the fourth realm? Seeing the great wheel of samsara at Lin Yuan's fingertips, the black-robed figure had no more doubts in his heart, but even so, he was still struck with a sense of incredulity. So this is the fourth realm? On the surface, it seemed that Lin Yuan spent 50 years to step from the first to the second realm, and another 100 years from the second realm to the third, and then from the third to the fourth realm. The time spent breaking through each level was 50 years. It appeared to be straightforward. But the breakthroughs in realms are far from being so simply calculated. The higher the level, the more time it requires to elevate just one minor realm. Among the numerous evolved geniuses of human civilization, only Lin Yuan had taken several hundred to 1,000 years to cultivate from the first rank to the 7th rank, but from the 7th to the 8th rank, they stalled for tens of thousands of years, even hundreds of thousands of years. These are all concrete examples. It's even more so with the comprehension of fusion rules. In the black-robed figure's estimation, it would take Lin Yuan 50 years to step into the second realm and between 500 to 1,000 years to step into the third realm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 757 Transformation of Power. Please subscribe. _2 To step into the fourth realm, it almost takes 10,000 years. This was still based on the premise that Lin Yuan had advanced into the second realm within 50 years prior, showing such an awe-inspiring and unequaled talent. But as for Lin Yuan, he spent 50 years from the first to the second realm, another 50 years from the second to the third realm, and 50 years from the third to the fourth realm. This meant that Lin Yuan's comprehension speed was getting faster and faster, showing an exponential surge. Can you send me out? Lin Yuan looked at the slightly distracted man in the black robe and spoke. Search * the novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. On the Black Planet, the roads behind the 12 gates are all one way. Entering is possible, but to leave? It requires the power of the man in the black robe. Leave? Okay. The man in the black robe quickly recovered. He took a deep look at Lin Yuan, waved his right hand and sent him to the surface of the Black Planet. For a moment. Outside the guiding space, the vast emptiness held only the figure of the man in the black robe. How could such an aberrant life be born within this universe? The man in the black robe muttered to himself. Most of his memories were incomplete, but he also realized that Lin Yuan's cultivation speed was extremely unreasonable. Outside the Black Planet, Lin Yuan's figure appeared. Let's go back. Lin Yuan stepped out and left the Black Planet. At present he was merely an incarnation, and compared to a primordial spirit avatar, an incarnation's combat power was very weak, so most evolvers' attitude towards an incarnation was to directly dissipate it after use. But in Lin Yuan's view, even a mosquito was still meat. With the strength of his incarnation, even if it was far inferior to his true self, by leveraging the use of space rules, he could still travel hundreds of light years in one step, quickly returning to the Milky Way main star. Then merging into his true self, he avoided the slight loss from an incarnation dissipating. Battlefield A101. Under a certain eternal spatial rift, Lin Yuan Taiyin primordial spirit opened his eyes. The battlefield A098, where the Taiyang divine spirit had been, was forcibly reduced to a lower dimension by the white paper that entered the universe and no longer existed. Even the Taiyang divine spirit fell into it. But no matter what, the accumulation efficiency of world-breaking origin force couldn't decrease. After confirming that the Taiyang divine spirit couldn't come out in a short period, Lin Yuan let the Taiyin primordial spirit choose another large alien battlefield to accelerate the accumulation of world-breaking origin force. Compared to the absolute safety within the guiding space, a large alien battlefield is full of crises, so it must be an avatar that goes. As for an incarnation, a moment of carelessness could lead to death at the hands of different species. The intensity of the wars has indeed lessened quite a bit over these 100 years. Lin Yuan glanced at the center of the battlefield and thought. Not just this large alien battlefield, but the intensity of wars has dropped significantly in other large alien battlefields, and even in medium-sized and small-sized otherworldly battlefields. The reason for this has to do with that white paper extending deep in the cosmic starry skies. Over 1 billion myriad tribes powerhouses fell into it, which has no small impact on the alliances of the peak clans. At least shortages are starting to appear in war reserves. Even if a vast number of myriad tribes powerhouses return from the white paper inside the two-dimensional world, facing fundamental losses, it would take a considerable amount of time to attempt recovery. Add to that supreme beings are studying that white paper, the impact from the top down has caused the intensity of battles in all battlefields to decrease. Lin Yuan was naturally pleased with this, as the safer the environment, the more conducive it was to accumulating world-breaking origin force. The quantity of my world-breaking origin force has reached 900 strands. Lin Yuan thought of the world-breaking origin force stored in the door to the myriad realms, and a smile appeared on his face. In 100 years, according to the accumulation speed of world-breaking origin force, one strand every 90 days beneath the eternal spatial rift of a large alien battlefield. Lin Yuan had accumulated 405 strands of world-breaking origin force. Add to that nearly 500 strands of world-breaking origin force he already possessed 100 years ago. The combined total made Lin Yuan's quantity of world-breaking origin force near 1,000 strands. So much world-breaking origin force. Lin Yuan let out a slight sigh of relief in his heart. With such a vast amount of world-breaking origin force at his support, even if the Taiyang Divine Spirit had indeed perished within that two-dimensional world, Lin Yuan would still have enough confidence. Even if the Taiyang Divine Spirit were to be fundamentally erased, and his own against heaven's understanding was unable to restore the Taiyang Divine Spirit, he could still perform custom traversal, letting the door to the myriad realms take him to a world where his Taiyang Divine Spirit could be restored. In the myriad realms of the heavens and countless dimensions, there is always a world environment that could restore his Taiyang Divine Spirit. It's merely a matter of how much world-breaking origin force it would take. With my current strength, I should be comparable to an 11th rank life of the 3rd tier. In 100 years of cultivation, Lin Yuan had reached the 4th realm in pillar-level fusion rules, but it's important to know, with his own powerful foundation. Lin Yuan, in the 1st realm, could wield the power of the life and death samsara rule at the 2nd or even 3rd realm's might. Now that he had reached the 4th realm, he estimated he could be on par with the peak 5th realm of pillar-level fusion rules. The threshold for the 3rd tier of an 11th rank is elevating a certain pillar-level fusion rule to the 5th realm. An advancement of 1 tier in 100 years, not bad. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. The 6 levels of 11th rank life, for any 11th rank powerhouse wishing to cross them, the time spent on each tier is counted by millions or tens of millions of years. This is still the case without facing any bottlenecks. Otherwise, it would be far more than millions or tens of millions of years. Lin Yuan, having cultivated for only 100 years, was now comparable to the 3rd tier of an 11th rank, which was an utterly astounding rate of advancement. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 758 Transformation of Power, please subscribe. _3 The most crucial aspect was that Lin Yuan wasn't cultivating as an 11th rank life, but instead he had bridged this gap at the 10th rank life level. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Comprehending many of the fusion rules went smoothly, but with the space-time rule, there seemed to be some difficulties. With a shift in thought, Lin Yuan sighed inwardly. The space-time rule, formerly known as the spatio-temporal fusion rule, is among the most arduous and abstruse of the fusion rules, without equal. And comprehending the spatio-temporal fusion rule is one of the thresholds that an 11th rank powerhouse must cross to reach the ultimate existence. The importance of the spatio-temporal fusion rule, thus, can be imagined. Comprehending the spatio-temporal fusion rule means that the space and time of one's inner world are unified, resulting in a more stable and perfect transformation towards the inner universe, ensuring a steadier transition. Moreover, the spatio-temporal fusion rule plays a significant role in freeing an 11th rank life from the constraints of the river of time, allowing an 11th rank life to step out of the river of time for longer periods, thereby fighting for more time to strive for the ultimate. Perhaps it's somewhat unrealistic for me to want to comprehend the spatio-temporal fusion rule at the 10th rank. Lin Yuan thought to himself that even for an 11th rank life, once the spatio-temporal fusion rule was comprehended, one would instantly rise to the 4th layer, and by raising the spatio-temporal fusion rule to the 5th realm, one would be qualified to challenge the ultimate. What Lin Yuan wanted to do at the 10th rank was something only an 11th rank life at the 4th layer could achieve. And this wasn't simply a matter of combat foundation, but rather a pure comprehension of the rules. Ultimately, 10th rank life was still somewhat inferior. It didn't have the same ease as an 11th rank life in sensing the fluctuations of the space-time rule. Enough, even without mastering the spatio-temporal fusion rule, with my perception, once I step into the 11th rank, I will be able to comprehend it quickly. Lin Yuan ceased his contemplation. Milky Way main star. Lin Yuan's true body sat cross-legged. 10th stage Martial Tao chapter? Decades ago, Lin Yuan had been contemplating the inception of the 10th rank chapter. Since comprehending the life and death samsara rule, Lin Yuan was considered grade A at the 10th rank, the peak of 10th rank, qualified to embark on the 10th stage martial Tao chapter, all the more so now that Lin Yuan's life and death samsara rule had long reached the 4th realm. My 10th stage martial Tao chapter must be unique. Over the decades, Lin Yuan had attempted to create hundreds of beginnings for the 10th stage martial Tao chapter, but none proved satisfactory. The evolutionary path of human civilization from 1st rank to 11th rank doesn't see the 10th rank as the most crucial nor as the strongest in combat power, but it still serves a pivotal role in bridging the past and unlocking the future. Especially for the martial path evolutionary path, the 10th rank chapter is of utmost importance. The 10th rank path I've taken cannot be replicated, so the 10th stage martial Tao chapter should address all 10th rank evolvers. Lin Yuan thought rapidly in his mind, continuously forming the various intricacies of the 10th rank chapter. Outside the Milky Way main star, a young-looking man with eyes that bore a hint of world weariness suddenly appeared. I spent all the merit points I've accumulated and also borrowed 80 million merit points in the name of my clan from human civilization, bringing the total to 100 million merit points in exchange for an opportunity that could bring me one step closer. The man with the vicissitudes in his eyes was named Shenyuan Fan, an ancient 10th rank evolver from the Shenyuan family. In terms of strength, Shenyuan Fan ranked among the top 10 of all 10th rank evolvers in human civilization, and was much stronger than Nalan, the assistant tower master, before her breakthrough. Because Shenyuan Fan had comprehended 2 pillar-level fusion rules, among which the life and death samsara rule had reached the peak of the 1st realm. However, without stepping into the 2nd realm, Shenyuan Fan could not challenge the 11th rank, and to elevate the life and death samsara rule to the 2nd realm was no longer a matter of arduous cultivation but required the aid of an external force. According to the ancestor's intention, the Galaxy Master holds a heritage site that could further my life and death samsara rule, but it requires a payment of 100 million merit points. Shenyuan Fan felt somewhat pained. Even as an evolver from the Shenyuan family, constantly fighting on the battlefield for human civilization, he had only amassed 20 million merit points until now. Had it not been for his family's reputation, he wouldn't have been able to gather close to 100 million merit points. Even if he did gather enough, he would still need to repay 80 million merit points to human civilization. Even if Shenyuan Fan luckily stepped into the 11th rank, it would take him millions to tens of millions of years to repay that amount. I wonder which heritage site could be worth 100 million merit points? But the ancestor wouldn't deceive me, Shenyuan Fan thought. It was precisely on the advice of the Shenyuan family's ancestor that he had made such a choice. The ancestor of the Shenyuan family was one of the 9 supreme beings of human civilization. The Galaxy Master, the strongest genius of human civilization to date, who stepped into the 10th rank 200 years ago. Shenyuan Fan's mind flashed through Lin Yuan's information. What a lucky fellow, Shenyuan Fan envied in his heart. A heritage site that was worth 100 million merit points for just a single entry, its true value was immeasurable. Shortly after Shenyuan Fan arrived at the Milky Way main star, he contacted Lin Yuan through the virtual network. A moment later, a young man appeared not far away. Galaxy Master. Shenyuan Fan looked at the quietly arriving young man, his expression changing slightly. His own perception of the life and death samsara rule had also reached the peak of the 1st realm, so he vaguely sensed the great wheel of samsara condensing within Lin Yuan. In front of this vast great wheel of samsara, Shenyuan Fan felt like an ant, which could be obliterated at any moment. Wasn't the Galaxy Master just at the initial stage of the 10th rank? Why is his aura so terrifying, and his comprehension of the life and death samsara rule so profound? Shenyuan Fan was shocked. Although he didn't know to what extent Lin Yuan's life and death samsara rule had reached, it was undoubtedly far beyond his own. It's terrifying. Is this the first genius of our human civilization? Originally, Shenyuan Fan didn't pay much attention to Lin Yuan, but at this moment his spirit couldn't help but quiver. Galaxy Master, here are 100 million merit points. Shenyuan Fan said with utmost respect, and transferred 100 million merit points to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan nodded and also sent over the coordinates of the Black Planet. The star domain where the Black Planet was located now belonged to Lin Yuan. Without permission, any citizen who trespassed on the Black Planet was violating the laws of human civilization, and 11th rank evolvers were no exception. 100 million merit points received. Lin Yuan watched Shenyuan Fan leave with respect, feeling quite pleased. He then gazed towards a certain part of the cosmic starry skies, the location of the two-dimensional world. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 759 The Reappearance of Heaven's Gate, Seeking Subscriptions, Two-Dimensional World. Heavy snow whirled through the air, covering everything in a blanket of white. Within Sea Moon City, Lin Yuan walked the streets, occasionally stopping to sit at a nearby table and chairs to sample the delicacies of Sea Moon City. Sea Moon City, established by the Sea Moon tribe, is far from the 12 ancient countries. There are few conflicts here. The people of the Sea Moon tribe dislike fighting amongst themselves and are very friendly to outsiders. While tasting the food, Lin Yuan pondered to himself. Having spent 10,000 years, Lin Yuan had basically explored this two-dimensional world once over. This was his second visit to Sea Moon City, the last time being 8,000 years ago. He would only come to a place a second time if he especially liked a particular city. And the cuisine of Sea Moon City was distinctive. Lin Yuan had revisited to experience the flavors here once more. 8,000 years have passed, generations of the original citizens of Sea Moon City have come and gone, but the taste of the food hasn't changed much. Lin Yuan sipped his drink, which was blended from dozens of unique fruit juices, offering a truly unique flavor. The snow is getting heavier. Lin Yuan set down his drink, gazing at the snowflakes continually drifting down from the sky. The snowflakes of the two-dimensional world, each piece was like a work of art, resembling glittering jewels. Lin Yuan reached out to catch the falling snowflakes, closely observing their intricate structures, maze-like, incredibly complex, yet the resulting snowflake was utterly perfect, just like a simplified version of this two-dimensional world. The more Lin Yuan observed, the more he was engrossed, completely immersing his mind in it. Your perception is defying heaven, studying the nature of the snowflake, deepening continuously. Lin Yuan was engrossed in the perfect structure of the snowflakes, completely unaware of the snow falling ever more heavily, as others quickly sought shelter inside stores, leaving him alone outside. "Mom, is that man a foreigner?" A little girl inside the shop curiously watched Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's dress was quite distinctive from that of other citizens of Sea Moon City, making him recognizable immediately. "How silly that foreigner is, the snow is falling so heavily, and he doesn't come inside to take shelter." The little girl blinked and couldn't help but speak. "You shouldn't judge others like that," the little girl's mother scolded immediately, though her voice was somewhat gentle. This was also a characteristic of the women of the Sea Moon tribe, appearing weak, but the citizens of Sea Moon City, men and women alike, were all fiercely spirited. All right, the little girl bowed her head in admission, sounding aggrieved. "But if he continues to stay out in the snow like that, he'll surely catch a cold." The mother furrowed her brow slightly, glancing at Lin Yuan sitting in the snow with some hesitation. Just then, "Your perception is defying heaven," observing the essence of the snowflake, breaking through to which ancestor 136th realm. Lin Yuan's eyes sparkled, feeling the changes in his Bodhi's inner chi, and he instinctively burst into laughter. Ha ha! Although Lin Yuan tried to contain his energy, the horrifying sound waves nevertheless caused the air to surge, and everyone in Sea Moon City, including the city's lord, who was a witch emperor, bore expressions of terror. "What is this?" Everyone inside the store felt the same, clutching their heads in agony. Fortunately, Lin Yuan quickly halted his laughter, preventing any harm to the citizens. "It's time to leave." Lin Yuan glanced around and vanished. Back in the store, the little girl and her mother finally recovered. "Mom, that foreigner's laughter was really scary," the little girl trembled, hiding in her mother's embrace. "That foreigner must be an extraordinarily powerful being." The mother's voice also trembled, then sternly eyed the little girl. "Haven't I taught you so many times not to judge others lightly?" Fortunately, that powerful person didn't take it to heart. The mother was somewhat frightened. The mere laughter causing such a reaction, even the strongest city lord couldn't achieve that, could they? If Lin Yuan had minded her daughter's remarks from earlier, their mother and daughter pair would have faced severe consequences. "I understand, Mom." Tears swirled in the little girl's eyes, clearly understanding her mistake. Outside Sea Moon City, a figure stood in the air. The heavy snowfall melted rapidly within 100 meters of this figure, evaporated by the immense vitality. 10,000 years, which ancestor 136th realm. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. It took him over 300 years to reach which ancestor 50 realm from an ordinary person of the two-dimensional world. But advancing from which Ancestor 50 realm to which Ancestor 136th realm took 10,000 years. Lin Yuan was quite satisfied with this, knowing each leap in realm from which Ancestor 50 realm was not merely normal advancement but a struggle against the heaven and earth itself, seeking to break free from the constraints and suppression. Originally, Lin Yuan's plan was to reach which Ancestor 100th realm in 10,000 years, but now reaching the 136th realm far exceeded his expectations. In these 10,000 years, the powerhouses of myriad tribes have become fewer and fewer. Lin Yuan stood in the air watching the snowflakes fall, pondering silently. By his estimate, the total number of myriad tribes' powerhouses in the two-dimensional world should not exceed 1,000. It was not that other powerhouses from myriad tribes had been exterminated, but that most realized that even if they remained, they couldn't possibly go outside. Rather than dying of old age in this two-dimensional world, they might as well give up early and willingly extinguish their avatars. In this two-dimensional world, unable to comprehend many laws, staying longer wouldn't provide any real enhancement to their true bodies outside. It's about time to head for Heavenly Mountain. Lin Yuan thought to himself, with half a year left until the gates to heaven opened once again. Luo River Gathering Place. After 10,000 years of evolution, the former Luo River Gathering area had long since become Luo River City, and the city master was a descendant of Jia Rangu. As for Jia Rangu himself, he had died of old age long ago. However, because of Lin Yuan's connections, Jia Rangu had a very comfortable life and even lived longer than other powerhouses of the same level. Before heading to Heavenly Mountain, Lin Yuan deliberately stayed in Luo River City. My old residence is still preserved, unaltered. Lin Yuan glanced and saw the cave where he used to meditate. In this two-dimensional world, I no longer have any acquaintances. Lin Yuan only stayed in the ancient city of Luo River for a short while before he left directly. Immediately after, Lin Yuan also made a special trip to the capital of Shuiyu ancient country. Just like Luo River City, the Shuiyu emperor had been replaced many times, and the title of Prince of the Northern Town had been reclaimed by one of the Shuiyu emperors. 10,000 years, times change, people change. Even the myriad tribes' powerhouses, most of them find it difficult to survive that long, let alone the normal lifespan of a witch ancestor, which is just 2,000 to 3,000 years. To live past 10,000 years, one must at least reach the 20th realm of witch ancestor, which only a few top-tier 10th rank and 11th rank powerhouses can manage to achieve. Lin Yuan silently observed all this, then finally left the capital of Shuiyu ancient country. This time departing, even if he still couldn't open the heavenly gate, Lin Yuan would not come back again. On the summit of Heavenly Mountain, many myriad tribes' powerhouses had arrived early, compared to the bustle when the heavenly gate first opened. Search * the Novelier. N.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This time, the summit of Heavenly Mountain was much colder. Scattered around were several hundred myriad tribes' powerhouses. After 10,000 years, I far exceeded the exploration of the supreme weapon within me compared to 10,000 years ago, and I estimate it could rival the 60th realm of a witch ancestor. At the summit of Heavenly Mountain, the four divine kings stood quietly, their gazes emitting a hint of fighting spirit. In a two-dimensional world, after myriad tribes' powerhouses cultivate to the 10th realm of a witch ancestor, they will be suppressed by the heavens of this world, finding it hard to progress any further. But this restriction, which applies to the myriad tribes' powerhouses, relaxes greatly when it comes to the suppression of supreme weapons. The supreme weapon within the four divine kings indeed shares some essence of a supreme being. Excavating the power of that supreme weapon is much easier than elevating one's own realm and power. Without this supreme weapon, even over the past 100 or 200,000 years, the four divine kings could never have cultivated to the 60th realm of a witch ancestor. Now I should be able to compete with the human Shuiyu, the four divine kings enthusiastically declared. Human Shuiyu, your biggest mistake was not killing me back then. The four divine kings steadied their spirits, their eyes blazing with fiery combat intent. Suddenly, at that moment, in the central position of the summit, someone appeared unnoticed. Human Shuiyu. Human Shuiyu has arrived. The surrounding myriad tribes' powerhouses perked up, all turning their attention. In fact, most of the myriad tribes' powerhouses had come to catch another glimpse of Lin Yuan, to see if Lin Yuan could push the heavenly gate this time. Human Shuiyu. The four divine kings were spirited, while also looking towards Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan seemed to sense something, his gaze flickering towards the four divine kings. Boom. Just a single glance caused the four divine kings' minds to thunder, their legs shaking uncontrollably. If not for fiercely relying on the power of the supreme weapon within, they might have collapsed on the spot. How is this possible? How can he be so strong? The four divine kings couldn't help but roar inwardly, one gaze from Lin Yuan causing them to utterly falter, indicating that the gap between them and Lin Yuan had grown far wider than it had been 10,000 years before. At least 10,000 years ago, facing a glance from Lin Yuan wasn't nearly as unnerving. How could human civilization give birth to such a freak? The four divine kings finally managed to stabilize after stepping back several times. Lin Yuan glanced back at the four divine kings, also sensing some fiery emotion from the latter towards him. In fact, Lin Yuan didn't care much about the four divine kings. 10,000 years ago, the four divine kings were far from his match, and the gap between them had only grown over 10,000 years. For Lin Yuan now, the only opponent in this two-dimensional world was that heavenly gate. Time slowly passed. Finally, above the summit of Heavenly Mountain, intense spatial fluctuations emerged once again. A heavenly gate was slowly outlined, materializing in front of the many myriad tribes' powerhouses. Deep within the two-dimensional world. In a vast space, in front of a giant scroll, a half-meter-tall old man yawned and slowly opened his eyes. For him, 10,000 years in the two-dimensional world was nothing more than a short nap, incredibly brief. Let's see how far 10,000 years can go, the half-meter-tall old man stretched, looking towards the giant scroll in front of him. The scroll was cloaked in mist, encompassing a vast, real world. What? The moment the half-meter-tall old man looked, he was somewhat bewildered, as if he had seen a ghost. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 760 Pushing the door open, please subscribe. In front of the massive scroll, the half-meter-tall elder seemed somewhat dazed. He could freely manipulate everything within the two-dimensional world of the scroll, with the entire two-dimensional world appearing as an extension of his own body, down to the smallest detail. As for the many powerhouses of the myriad clans who had fallen into the two-dimensional world, in the eyes of the half-meter-tall elder, there were no secrets as he could see through them at a glance. However, it was precisely because of this that the half-meter-tall elder was all the more astonished, his gaze piercing through the entire two-dimensional world, continuously sizing up Lin Yuan, who stood before the heavenly gate. Originally, I just wanted to watch for another 10,000 years, to see what this little fellow could do after breaking the limit of the 30 layers of worlds, the half-meter-tall elder silently thought to himself. Merely 300-some years after Lin Yuan's arrival, he had already broken the limit of the 30 layers of worlds, which left the half-meter-tall elder somewhat uncertain. According to his thoughts, as long as Lin Yuan could continue to break the 30 layers limit within the next 10,000 years, that would be enough. The higher one goes with world limits, the more difficult it becomes to break them. The first 30 layers of world limits are not at all the same concept as the next 30 layers. That's why the half-meter-tall elder had specifically set aside 10,000 years. I thought I had overestimated enough, that in 10,300-some years, breaking through 60 layers of world limits would be enough. I never expected this little guy to far exceed my estimates. In just 10,000 years he actually broke through 99 layers of world limits? The half-meter-tall elder steadied his mind. That is to say, in the 10,300 years since Lin Yuan arrived, he had broken through a total of 129 layers of world limits. Even a 12th rank life, transcending the shackles of the river of time and falling into this low-dimensional space, couldn't possibly break through so many world limits in just over 10,000 years, right? The half-meter-tall elder still couldn't quite believe it. Even 12th rank lives that fell into low-dimensional space could still use some extraordinary methods to accelerate their cultivation speed. But even so, to reach Lin Yuan's current level, it would probably take 100,000 or even 1,000,000 years. Is he really just a long river inner life? The half-meter-tall elder confirmed repeatedly. Life below the 12th rank is also called long river inner life, meaning they need to be bound by the river of time. Even within the chaos void, long river inner life and long river outer life are fundamentally different, with the latter far surpassing the former in every aspect. This is determined by the essence of life itself. The beings within the river of time are limited in their perceptions and experiences, which are extremely narrow. Whereas 12th rank lives outside the river of time can see and feel a universe that is immensely vast and grand. This is truly terrifying. Having confirmed that Lin Yuan was still caught within the river of time, the half-meter-tall elder's expression was one of utter amazement. At this moment, the speed of cultivation that Lin Yuan displayed was the strongest of all Long River inner life since the creation of this two-dimensional world. And he had established a cliff-like gap with the second in line. Even among the many formidable existences outside the river of time, Lin Yuan's cultivation speed was astonishingly fast. No need to continue watching, I suppose? Just let him come in. The half-meter-tall elder glanced at the heavenly gate that was rapidly taking shape. If he continued to watch, the half-meter-tall elder even worried that Lin Yuan might continue to break even more world limits, eventually breaking free from the two-dimensional world suppression and leaving. Although the probability of this happening was almost zero, an absolutely impossible feat, but before this, the half-meter-tall elder had also never imagined that Lin Yuan could break so many layers of world limits within 10,000 years. At the summit of Heavenly Mountain, Lin Yuan stood before the heavenly gate, his heart slightly stirred by the gate that was rapidly materializing. All the efforts he made during the 10,000 years in the two-dimensional world were for this moment, to open the gate before him. Only by opening the heavenly gate was there hope to leave this two-dimensional world. Only by leaving this two-dimensional world could he avoid intrinsic losses and preserve his Taiyang divine spirit. Only by leaving this two-dimensional world could the countless mysterious artifacts Lin Yuan acquired display their true value. The heavenly gate gradually materialized, also pulling at the hearts and minds of other powerhouses of the myriad clans. These powerhouses of the myriad clans, although competitors with Lin Yuan, especially the 4 divine kings and other 11th rank perfect lives, had been living under the shadow cast by Lin Yuan for 10,000 years. But all the powerhouses of the myriad clans sincerely hoped that Lin Yuan would be able to push open the heavenly gate. Only if Lin Yuan could open the heavenly gate would it mean that the gate could be opened, and they too would have the possibility of opening it. And only after Lin Yuan opened the heavenly gate and left this two-dimensional world would the chance for the 4 divine kings and other 11th rank perfect lives truly come. As long as Lin Yuan did not leave, no power in this two-dimensional world could compete with him. The 4 divine kings had some confidence initially and wanted to challenge Lin Yuan seriously this time. But just a single sidelong glance from Lin Yuan brought him back to reality. See Tich Novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lord Xueyu. On the side of human civilization, Xinyuan Dua and other 11th rank evolvers from human civilization watched Lin Yuan before the heavenly gate with anticipation. In these 10,000 years they had not even met face to face, but it did not prevent everyone from pinning their hopes on Lin Yuan. In the depths of the cosmic starry sky, many a supreme being paid close attention to the scroll that stretched out beneath the stars. The heavenly gate is about to open. Hope it can be open this time, right? The many supreme beings rapidly communicated, and while there weren't many of the myriad tribes' powerhouses left alive in the two-dimensional world, they were practically all the real elite or even the heritage of the major races and forces. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 761 Pushing the Door Open. Subscribe please. _2 Boom boom boom. Just at this moment, the 9 supreme beings of human civilization suddenly unleashed a terrifying aura, recklessly stirring the space-time fluctuations of hundreds of thousands of light-years nearby. Human civilization? Have they activated the clan suppression weapon? Activating the clan suppression weapon comes at no small cost. What does human civilization intend to do? What to do? Naturally, to protect that blood rain, right? The thoughts of the supreme beings processed at an astonishing speed, immediately understanding the reason behind the actions of the 9 supreme beings. If Lin Yuan could push open the heavenly gate this time, freeing himself from the two-dimensional world and returning to the main universe, he would inevitably be exposed right under the noses of the many supreme beings present. And with Lin Yuan's stunning performance in the two-dimensional world, there would definitely be supreme beings who couldn't control themselves and would directly attack, such as the insect race, the matriarch of the Tianyu clan, and the ancestors. Or maybe some other ultimate beings, if given the chance, would certainly seize the opportunity to strike. Humph, for a mere life within the river of time, such a grand mobilization, the supreme beings of human civilization, TSK, A grand mobilization. If you had offspring like blood rain, I reckon it would be even more exaggerated than what human civilization is doing now. The many supreme beings communicated with each other, but they didn't have any objections or aversion to the actions of Xiaqin Supreme Being and the other 8 Supreme Beings. In fact, they even voluntarily backed off a bit, showing their sincerity. One reason was that since Lin Yuan had freed himself from the constraints of the two-dimensional world and returned to the main world, even if his avatar died, there would be no fundamental loss. Hence, the significance of killing him wasn't significant. Secondly, they too had tribe members trapped in the two-dimensional world. After Lin Yuan left the two-dimensional world, the other powerhouses of the myriad tribes would also successively push open the heavenly gate and leave. If they struck at Lin Yuan now, when their tribe members left the two-dimensional world, would the 9 supreme beings of human civilization just let it go? Rather than killing 1,000 enemies and losing 800 of themselves, it was better to take a step back. Of course, this was just the idea of the majority of ultimate beings. A few ancestors of the Chanyu clan thought differently. Because the Chanyu clan powerhouses who had fallen into the two-dimensional world had been eliminated right from the beginning and had no chance of leaving the two-dimensional world at all. Yet merely relying on the few ancestors of the Chanyu clan would not shake the 9 supreme beings of human civilization who had activated the clan suppression weapon. No suspicions have been raised. Xiaqin Supreme Being and the other 8 Supreme Beings exchanged glances and slightly relaxed. Currently, the aura of human civilization's clan suppression weapon still pervaded half of the scroll, so even a Supreme Being could not decipher the aura of the blood rain who had escaped the two-dimensional world. The reason Xiaqin Supreme Being and the other Supreme Beings acted this way was only partially guessed by the ultimate beings present. The real reason was to cover up Lin Yuan's true identity. If the many ultimate beings sensed that the blood rain escaping the two-dimensional world was merely a 10th rank life, then likely all the ultimate beings present would have thoughts of attacking. What a joke, for a 10th rank life to beat and crush legendary lives of 11th rank complete like the 4 divine kings. Even the 9 supreme beings of human civilization were somewhat frightened and admitted that if other forces had such a monstrous figure, they would also take action to eliminate them. CTHNL Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Luckily, the many ultimate beings did not think in this direction at all and just assumed the 9 supreme beings of human civilization were purely protecting that blood rain. In fact, this assumption was not wrong. If Lin Yuan had not actively revealed himself, the 9 supreme beings of human civilization would also have regarded that blood rain as a legendary life of 11th rank perfection. The two-dimensional world. Atop the heavenly mountain. Lin Yuan stood quietly in front of the heavenly gate which was gradually materializing from the ethereal. Soon the heavenly gate was completely manifested. The thick fluctuations of spatial power rippled outward in all directions like ripples. Lin Yuan stood before the heavenly gate, not yet pushing it open but instead letting the memories of the past 10,000 years flicker through his mind. 10,000 years? It certainly was the longest period Lin Yuan had experienced since he identified himself as an evolver. Although only a century had passed in the main universe, the 10,000 years in the two-dimensional world were still real. Lin Yuan only needed to think back slightly, and everything that had happened over the past 10,000 years appeared before his eyes. Even if I still can't push it open this time, I will still wait for the next 10,000 years, and the next one beyond that. Without yet beginning to push the heavenly gate, Lin Yuan had already prepared for the worst scenario. After all, the last time the heavenly gate opened, Lin Yuan had exerted all his strength, yet he could not move it at all, even though his strength had indeed increased significantly since then. But whether he could ultimately open the heavenly gate or not, Lin Yuan still had no confidence. Let's begin. Lin Yuan gathered his thoughts and gently placed his hands on the heavenly gate. The next moment, the originally sealed heavenly gate slowly began to open. Lin Yuan was slightly startled. He had just placed his hands on the heavenly gate without even applying any force, yet the gate had opened? Even Lin Yuan felt that even if it weren't him standing before the heavenly gate, but rather an ordinary person, they could still easily push it open? What exactly is going on? Lin Yuan's thoughts fluctuated. 10,000 years ago, he hadn't used his physical body divine ability enhancement, yet he couldn't move the heavenly gate at all. Now he just placed his hands on it and it easily opened? This stark contrast made Lin Yuan involuntarily speculate. Whether the heavenly gate could be opened was not related to one's own strength. Was it about whether the heavenly gate itself was willing to be opened? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 762 Pushing the Door Open, Request for Subscription. _3 The term Heaven's Gate here is broadly defined and does not specifically refer to the Heaven's Gate before us. Perhaps it refers to some other existence? Rustling. The Heaven's Gate slowly opened. Following a brief silence, the crowd of myriad tribes' powerhouses around it burst into an uproar. Heaven's Gate has been pushed open. I knew it, Heaven's Gate could definitely be pushed open, last time was just an accident. The many exhilarated myriad tribes' powerhouses chatted among themselves, knowing that even though the Heaven's Gate could be opened, most of them would still not be able to enter. But at the very least they could obtain rare items through the myriad tribes' powerhouses who did enter the gate. Even if most of those items were to be taken by this particular myriad tribes' powerhouse, it was still far better than being left in the two-dimensional world. Heaven's Gate. New confidence surged in the eyes of the four divine kings. With Lin Yuan here, his chance to enter the Heaven's Gate this time was non-existent. But next time, once Lin Yuan had left, who else in the entire two-dimensional world could compete with him for a position at the next Heaven's Gate? Before the Heaven's Gate, Lin Yuan did not step in immediately. The different difficulties in opening the Heaven's Gate twice made Lin Yuan develop other thoughts about what was inside it. Since it's been pushed, after contemplating for a moment, Lin Yuan turned back to look at the excited human evolvers and then stepped in with his right foot. If this two-dimensional world were truly governed by some spirit that could easily alter the difficulty of opening the Heaven's Gate, then whether Lin Yuan stepped in or not was meaningless. As of now, the Heaven's Gate was his only hope of escape, and no matter his apprehensions he had to enter. Whoosh! Lin Yuan stepped inside the Heaven's Gate. Immediately after turning tangible, the Heaven's Gate began to slowly close, fading away. The tumultuous force of the spatial energy at the summit of Heavenly Mountain quickly settled as if it had never existed. Cosmic Starry Sky. At the moment Lin Yuan pushed open the Heaven's Gate, Xiaqin Supreme Being and other 9 Supreme Beings of human civilization stood ready, activating their clan suppression weapon, ready to envelop Lin Yuan the moment he appeared. Sir, the novel, Ire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Other ultimate entities could not sense Lin Yuan's presence through the clan suppression weapon. Thus, the greatest secret about Blood Rain was preserved. Lin Yuan immediately realized that the giant painting was the two-dimensional world that had trapped him for over 10,000 years. The feeling of ascension, the feeling of descent. Lin Yuan felt it very peculiar. When drawn into the painting he hadn't had the chance to fully perceive what being demoted meant. But now, extricating from the giant painting and becoming a normal life form again provided a clear experience. Lin Yuan carefully felt for a while, then his expression subtly changed. Because he then discovered that although he had escaped the two-dimensional world, he had not returned to the main universe. Where is this? Lin Yuan looked around. It was a vast space. Further away was an infinite expanse of murky gas, with only the giant canvas standing out prominently. At that moment, Lin Yuan also noticed an old man sitting in front of the giant canvas. In comparison to the canvas, this old man was extremely tiny, only half a meter tall, which was why Lin Yuan had initially ignored him. While Lin Yuan was observing the half-meter-tall old man, this old man was also looking at Lin Yuan with a peculiar gaze, continuously sizing him up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 763 Replication of Understanding of Rules, True Versatility. Please subscribe, I've seen my elder. Lin Yuan immediately greeted. Although he didn't know exactly who the half-meter-tall elder was, the fact that he was sitting in front of the scroll suggested that he was most likely the true master of that two-dimensional world. His arrival at the Heavenly Gate and appearance here were probably by the elder's intent. Indeed, you are polite. Sar the novel _. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. A smile appeared on the elder's face. He had not communicated with a living being for too long, and though there were many lives in the two-dimensional world, none could pique his interest. Polite. Lin Yuan's expression remained unchanged. Facing an entity of unknown depth, was it not better to be polite rather than start a conflict? Lin Yuan was not foolish. Very well, You should now understand that this vast scroll in front of you represents the low-dimensional space you currently inhabit, the half-meter-tall elder slowly explained. This low-dimensional space is one of the earliest ones created, replicating as closely as possible a lower-dimensional world envisioned by the Creator. The elder continued. Lin Yuan listened quietly. He had already gathered basic information about this low-dimensional space from the six-armed silhouette in the Shenhuang secret realm and stone statue Shinji in the demon jade space. The Creator fashioned this low-dimensional space to help explore even lower-dimensional worlds, also designing it as a game world that could accommodate quintillions of lives at once, said the elder. Half-meter-tall elder glanced at Lin Yuan. Any life that falls into this low-dimensional space is considered a participant in this game, where the loser forfeits the spirit will they invested, and the winner receives a reward. These are the rules of the game. A game world. Lin Yuan thought to himself. The six-armed silhouette of the Shenhuang secret realm mentioned that low-dimensional spaces are divided into entertainment and gambling types, and the gaming world the elder spoke of seemed to be of the gambling sort since it involved penalties. Now you have emerged victorious from this game, becoming the sole winner, the elder said with a smile. The sole winner? Lin Yuan looked surprised. You don't think that the other participants in the low-dimensional space could leave, do you? There's no such possibility. From the beginning, there could only be one winner in this game, the elder stated calmly. The Heavenly Gate indeed was a means to leave the two-dimensional world, but it only permitted one of the myriad tribes' powerhouses to enter. Lin Yuan remained silent. He had planned to create a specialized cultivation method for himself and for beings like Xinyuan Dua, a Tier 11 evolver, to strengthen themselves and increase their chances of accessing the Heavenly Gate after leaving. Compared to the Supreme Being Xia Qin and other human civilization Supreme Beings, who replicated 1 to 2/10 of the two-dimensional world in the Void Realm world to ponder and innovate cultivation methods, Lin Yuan, who had truly experienced every bit of the two-dimensional world, had more first-hand experience than any Supreme Being. But now it seemed this plan was likely to fail. According to the elder, besides Lin Yuan, no other myriad tribes' powerhouses could leave the two-dimensional world. All right. Since you are the victor, you may now choose your reward, the elder's tone shifted as he suddenly asked. Tell me, what kind of reward would you like? The elder looked at Lin Yuan. If it were any other victor, even those like the 4 divine kings at 11th rank complete legendary life, the elder wouldn't have shown such interest. But Lin Yuan, the perceptiveness he demonstrated was truly frightening. In the low-dimensional space, where everything resets to square one, the path one takes depends largely on their insight. Of course. Even among insights, those from higher life levels are stronger than those from lower ones, which is perfectly normal. Lin Yuan's life level wasn't the weakest among those who fell into the low-dimensional space, but it had no relation to the strongest. Yet, to break the limit of 129 realms in just over 10,000 years, the elder felt he should indeed treat him differently. A reward. Lin Yuan was slightly stunned. The six-armed silhouette of the Shenhuang secret realm had also mentioned that those who win in the gambling-type low-dimensional space would receive a corresponding reward. However, the rewards available differed depending on the dimension of the space. I'm not sure what the rewards are? Lin Yuan tentatively asked. The rewards correspond to the punishments, the elder spoke with slight verbosity. The punishment is the permanent loss of the spirit will avatar that falls here. Therefore, the reward is the ability to take over various aspects such as the physical bodies, souls, memories and insights into the rules, among others, of all participants in the low-dimensional game. Physical bodies, souls, bloodlines, memories and insights into rules, among other aspects? Lin Yuan looked slightly puzzled. That is, if you choose the physical body, you can copy anyone's physical body from those who participated in the game for your contemplation. Choosing memories works the same way, copying corresponding memories for your viewing, the elder patiently explained. The low-dimensional space could permanently strip participants of their spirit will avatars, essentially acquiring these avatars, and then part of these are bestowed upon the victor. Is that so? Lin Yuan thought quickly. The guiding space within the Black Planet was essentially a part of the understanding of fusion rules from a 12th rank life, forcibly segmented for other beings to comprehend. Currently, the half-meter-tall elder meant to segment the spirit wills of the myriad tribes' powerhouses who had fallen into it, allowing Lin Yuan to choose. Clearly, the segmentation in the blank paper two-dimensional world was somewhat more refined than that of the Black Planet. Which should I choose? Lin Yuan's thoughts whirred. Many of the myriad tribes' powerhouses that fell into the two-dimensional world were special existences, many of which were uniquely special. If their flesh and bloodlines could be perfectly segmented, it would undoubtedly be of great help to Lin Yuan, at least elevating his physical body to another level. Elder, Lin Yuan pondered carefully and made up his mind, I want the part that pertains to the understanding of rules. For Lin Yuan, his physical body and bloodlines were less important than the understanding of rules. The deeper his understanding of rules, the more perfect and stable his inner world would become, which would, in turn, greatly benefit his physical body. It might even increase Lin Yuan's chances of reaching the ultimate stage. Understanding of rules, huh? The half-meter-tall elder nodded. Indeed, this aspect was the most precious. Your insight is among the highest I have seen, the elder thought for a moment and continued, so I'll give you two more options. Do you want all the rule understandings of a certain life that participated in this game, or do you want the understanding of a particular rule from all lives participating in the game? The elder looked at Lin Yuan, decide for yourself how to choose. Which to choose? Lin Yuan also fell into thought. The so-called all-rule understandings of certain participating life. The subject is life itself. For instance, if Lin Yuan chose the 4 divine kings, then he could obtain all rule understandings that the 4 divine kings had. Whereas the understanding of a particular rule from all participating lives, the subject is the rule itself. For example, if Lin Yuan chose the life and death samsara rule, then he could acquire all understandings of the life and death samsara rule from all myriad tribes powerhouses who fell into the two-dimensional world. Different lives, even if they contemplate the same rule, have different understandings and insights. Just as the space rules have many facets, comprehending the complete space rules is only understanding one aspect. Even supreme beings cannot master all aspects of space rules. The same goes for other rules and fusion rules. Even powers like the 4 divine kings cannot guarantee that their perception of rules is the most perfect or comprehensive. It can only represent themselves. If the understanding of a certain rule from all myriad tribes powerhouses who fell into the two-dimensional world could be integrated and interact with each other, it might not be perfect, but it would most certainly be much stronger than that of any individual powerhouse. Pillar-level fusion rules are differentiated from first realm to ninth realm, indicating the depth of understanding of a particular pillar-level fusion rule. Without a doubt, the higher the realm, the more comprehensive and perfect the understanding of such pillar-level fusion rules. I choose the rule. I want the complete understanding of the spatio-temporal fusion rule. Lin Yuan spoke. The spatio-temporal fusion rule was one of the most complex and obscure among all fusion rules. Actually, to say that isn't quite accurate. The most obscure and complex fusion rule isn't the spatio-temporal fusion rule, but the chaos rule. However, the chaos rule isn't considered a fusion rule anymore. It is the origin of all rules, and none of the myriad tribes powerhouses who fell into the two-dimensional world, to Lin Yuan's knowledge, have any insight into the chaos rule, hence his choice of the spatio-temporal fusion rule. The spatio-temporal fusion rule? The elder nodded. Choosing this, you might need to wait a bit longer. No problem. Lin Yuan immediately said. Having waited for 10,000 years, he didn't mind waiting a little longer. After finishing, the elder's gaze returned to the vast scroll. While Lin Yuan sat cross-legged next to him, quietly waiting. The flow of time here seems to be no different from that of the main universe. Lin Yuan's true body and the Taiyin primordial spirit were in the main universe, able to sense the flow of time between them. Milky Way main star. Lin Yuan's true form opened his eyes, his consciousness began to connect to the virtual world, applying for entry into Xiaqin Supreme Being's personal world. Lin Yuan's application was almost instantly approved, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Xiaqin Supreme Being. Supreme Being. Lin Yuan bowed slightly, aware that Xiaqin Supreme Being had been waiting for him. How did it go? Xiaqin Supreme Being looked at Lin Yuan and asked with concern, what exactly is beyond the gateway? I didn't notice any spatial fluctuations from that white paper. Where were you sent? And are you safe now? Xiaqin Supreme Being quickly asked. I am very safe now. Lin Yuan immediately said. That's good to hear. Xiaqin Supreme Being sighed in relief. As long as he was unharmed, there was room for easing the situation. I have met the true dominion of the white paper two-dimensional world, Lin Yuan pondered for a while before speaking. The true dominion? Xiaqin Supreme Being was startled. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 764 Fusion of Time and Space. Thanks to the Alliance Hierarch reward from the book Friend under Virtual World. With a solemn expression, Xiaqin Supreme Being spoke from his throne. Are you saying that the white paper already has an owner? In the main universe's past, objects from beyond often squeezed through the eternal spatial rift. Most of these objects were inanimate. For instance, the recent cosmic aurora from beyond. However, a small portion were living beings. During the years when human civilization lay dormant, an odd life form squeezed through the eternal spatial rift on the large battlefield carved out by the insect race and the Tianyu clan. This odd life form nearly brought an irreversible disaster to the cosmic starry skies. In the end, over a dozen supreme beings joined hands and barely managed to exile the odd life form back to the outside of the universe. In comparison, the uncertainty of living beings is far greater, enough to make even the ultimate beings vigilant. If what Lin Yuan said is correct, then the white paper already has an owner. And it resides within the white paper itself. Then, these ultimate beings would have to reassess how to deal with it. It cannot be said to have an owner, but at least it has birthed a spirit, possessing an independent will. Lin Yuan spoke of his conjecture. According to the half-meter-tall elder's words, the two-dimensional world within the white paper was likely created by an existence close to that of a perfect time being. Yet, the half-meter-tall elder himself did not seem like one close to a perfect time being. He was more like an existence akin to a spirit, or perhaps a caretaker casually created by the original being close to a perfect time being. As long as it possesses an independent will, it is considered a living being. Xiaqin Supreme Being furrowed his brows. No wonder these past 100 years, our multiple attempts at refining it have yielded no results. With the means of ultimate beings, if it truly were ownerless, it wouldn't completely be refined, but at least there would be some hope. But in reality, their methods of refining the white paper were completely without any feedback. There is another matter. Lin Yuan hesitated before continuing. The evolvers of my human civilization once entered into the two-dimensional world, will likely not be able to come back out. Immediately, Lin Yuan repeated the half-meter-tall elder's words. Only one from the myriad clans' lives that fall into the two-dimensional world can ultimately walk out, Lin Yuan conveyed truthfully. So that's how it is. Xiaqin Supreme Being fell silent for a while before swiftly accepting the fact. Oh, and for your universe I've thrown in quite a few. A large number of them have already died off, the half-meter-tall elder said casually. The initial intention behind creating this low-dimensional space was to explore even lower dimensions. Secondly, it was discovered that if one parts with a sliver of spiritual will, it enables a comparison of understanding from the same starting point. This latter purpose gradually became the main use of this low-dimensional space. Over the long years of continuous improvement, a complete low-dimensional world was fostered, with endless low-dimensional lives proliferating within it. Later, following a major upheaval, this low-dimensional space fell silent within the Taiyuan relic. As cosmic eras passed by, it was ejected again by the various forces within the relic, and it automatically began to absorb all nearby lives, sucking them into the two-dimensional world. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 765 Fusion of Time and Space. Thanks to the Alliance Hierarch reward from the book Friend _. _2 As long as the number of lives that fall into the two-dimensional world is sufficient, this low-dimensional space will slowly come to a halt and start a new round of the game. These fixed programs are imprinted at the very depths of white paper that even the half-meter-tall elder must abide by. Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan fell into a brief silence. Actually, escaping low-dimensional space isn't necessarily a good thing for those lives within the two-dimensional world. The Witch Emperor and Witch Ancestor, who once commanded great power in the two-dimensional world, might become extremely feeble in the main universe. Though their potential is substantially increased, how many can actually reach that potential? Just as the half-meter-tall elder said, the majority of lives thrown into nearby low-dimensional spaces would die in a short time, and the few who lasted a while longer would also perish. Lin Yuan looked into the distance at that huge scroll and faintly sensed changes occurring within the scroll. The flow of time? Lin Yuan's expression was grave, as he felt fluctuations in the flow of time within the scroll becoming tumultuous. In order to take away all understanding of rules from the game participants, they naturally need to be dead, the half-meter-tall elder rarely explained. 100-fold time flow rate is too slow, he'll speed it up a bit. As soon as the half-meter-tall elder finished speaking, Lin Yuan noticed that the rate of time within the scroll had reached 1,000,000 to 1, 10,000,000 to 1. Inside the two-dimensional world, the four divine kings and many other myriad tribes' powerhouses witnessed Lin Yuan entering the heavenly gate, which then quickly dissipated. They each left Heavenly Mountain, waiting for the next time the heavenly gate would open. Being 11th rank life, their aptitude for comprehension was naturally top-notch. After expending vast amounts of time and energy, they had also conceived some methods to extend their lifespan. Moreover, with the Ancestor Witch's 30 realms and the 40 realms lifespan extension abilities, it wasn't difficult to survive tens of thousands or even 100,000 years. Next time the heavenly gate opens, it must be me who enters. The four divine kings had ample confidence in their heart. Just then, the complexion of the four divine kings changed slightly. Through the coordinates of their true bodies outside, they clearly felt the changes in the flow of time within the two-dimensional world. From the original 100 to 1, it began to skyrocket without limit. A little over 10 minutes in the main universe. Lin Yuan watched as tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years passed by in the blink of an eye within the huge scroll. Even for ultimate lives that had stepped out of the river of time, maintaining such an exaggerated ratio in a short time would come at a cost. Let alone the half-meter-tall elder maintaining the range of time ratio for an entire two-dimensional world. Whoosh! The half-meter-tall elder constantly played with both hands on the huge scroll, with resplendent light emerging from within the scroll which then gathered in the elder's hands. Time went by slowly. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. Now, in the hands of the half-meter-tall elder, a fist-sized luminous sphere had condensed. Lin Yuan merely glanced at it from a distance and felt an infinite essence of time and space flowing over it. Is that the understanding of the spatio-temporal fusion rules from all the myriad tribes' powerhouses within the scroll? Lin Yuan's spirit was slightly uplifted. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 766 Fusion of Time and Space, thanks to the Alliance Hierarch reward from _ 3 stripping away one's understanding of a certain rule, especially if it's done forcibly, seems like an impossible thing to do. Within the Black Planet, the fusion rules of the 12 guiding spaces are directed by Ultimate Life and are also voluntarily stripped away by Ultimate Life itself. But now, the understandings of the spatio-temporal fusion rule by more than 100 million powerhouses of the myriad tribes have all converged into that luminous orb. Lin Yuan speculated that this was achieved through the means of dimensional reduction, by degrading the essence of life, then cutting it out. This method could only be useful for life below the 12th rank. As for the 12th rank ultimate being, they could completely resist the power of dimensional reduction. Even if they fell into a low-dimensional space, it would be impossible to sever their understanding of the rules. The essence of a 12th rank life is there, not as easily manipulated as an 11th rank life. All right. The half-meter-tall elder looked at the luminous orb in his hand and then turned to Lin Yuan. Senior. Lin Yuan immediately stood up. This is yours now. With a gentle toss from the half-meter-tall elder, the luminous orb flew towards Lin Yuan. This? Lin Yuan, merely looking at it up close and not yet touching it, was already engrossed. An endless flood of insights about the spatio-temporal fusion rule poured into his mind. Your perceptiveness is against the heavens. Watching the origin of the fusion of the rule of time and space rules, your understanding of the spatio-temporal fusion rule has greatly increased. Over the past 100 years, Lin Yuan, in addition to perceiving the 12 pillar-level fusion rules on the Black Planet, would also ponder the spatio-temporal fusion rule. After all, the spatio-temporal fusion rule has a significant connection with the assault on the ultimate, and being able to perceive the spatio-temporal fusion rule at the 10th rank could make his own inner world more perfect. In the future, when Lin Yuan challenges Tier 11, the benefits gained from the Chaos Void Origin infusion will be even greater. Whether it's the infusion of Cosmic Origin or the Chaos Void Origin infusion, essentially, it's about filling a basin with water. Whether that basin is only half a meter in size or as large as a lake, ultimately it will be filled with the origin that is poured in within 333 seconds. Hence, the larger the basin, the more water it can hold, the more terrifying the transformation that occurs. The basin here essentially refers to the inner world. Chapter 767 Setting Sail Again. End of this volume. Thanks to the Alliance Hierarch reward from Undersir. What a monstrous talent, the half-meter-tall old man marveled to himself, for he had discerned that Lin Yuan's comprehension of the spatiotemporal fusion rule was not profound when he was in the two-dimensional world. There was an unimaginably long distance to go before he could enlighten the spatiotemporal fusion rule. This time, by offering Lin Yuan the insight into the spatiotemporal fusion rule he had cut off, he merely speculated that Lin Yuan would take a big step toward that enlightenment at most. But who could have imagined that Lin Yuan would directly enlighten the spatiotemporal fusion rule? As long as he can overcome the challenge of the 12th rank life, perhaps he may one day grow close to the heights of a perfect time being? The half-meter-tall old man silently pondered. Being close to a perfect time being was the highest praise he could think of. As for a real perfect time being, they could easily traverse numerous timelines, able to reverse the past and alter the future at will. A perfect time being is an existence that transcends dimensions and cannot be described in terms of normal life. Milky Way main star. After Lin Yuan enlightened the spatiotemporal fusion rule, his consciousness immediately descended into his inner world. Source: web novel. Com. Updated on N0 New 0. Boom boom boom. As time and space completely merged, his inner world began to transform, and while its superficial size remained the same, the number of spatial layers instantly reached 100 billion. And seemingly intangible, every aspect of his inner world saw significant improvement. My inner world now. If I were to undergo the Chaos Void Origin Infusion once more, it would withstand an Origin Infusion over 10,000 times more than when breaking through from the 9th to the 10th rank. Lin Yuan had an idea. His enlightenment of the spatiotemporal fusion rule had brought him an enormous boost, even within the ranks of 11th rank lives. This was a metamorphosis, entering the 4th layer of the 11th tier. That crystal light group, Lin Yuan's spirit was exhilarated. Encased within the crystal light group were the comprehensions regarding the spatiotemporal fusion rule from all the myriad tribes powerhouses that had fallen into the two-dimensional world. This naturally included the insights from legendary lives like the 4 divine kings and the skinny old man, who were at the level 11 perfection, regarding the spatiotemporal fusion rule. And these legendary lives had all reached the 5th realm in the spatiotemporal fusion rule. In other words, the minimum threshold for that crystal light group is to elevate Lin Yuan's understanding of the spatiotemporal fusion rule to the 5th realm. And the limit? With over 100 million myriad tribes powerhouses different facets of understanding the spatiotemporal fusion rule, a quantitative change could induce a qualitative change, possibly enabling Lin Yuan to step into the 6th realm in the spatiotemporal fusion rule domain in one fell swoop. It's known that fusion rules range from the 1st realm to the 9th realm. A 7th realm in an ordinary fusion rule is the maximum level obtainable by an 11th rank life. And the 7th realm in pillar-level fusion rules is the domain of ultimate beings. As for the 7th realm in a top-level fusion rule like the spatiotemporal fusion rule, let alone the 7th realm, even the 6th realm is something only ultimate beings can enlighten. If Lin Yuan were to practice the spatiotemporal fusion rule to the 6th realm, it would mean that he could, in some aspects, stand shoulder to shoulder with an ultimate being. The spacetime fusion rule 6-fold realm is still too far away. Lin Yuan steadied his spirit. Such a leap into the spacetime fusion rule 6-fold realm was in theory only. A quantitative change inducing a qualitative change is true, but if understanding from merely 100 million myriad tribes powerhouses could achieve the 6th realm, then the domain of ultimate beings would seem rather cheap. And among these 100 million myriad tribes powerhouses, the vast majority were 8th and 9th rank, with a rather one-sided understanding of the spatiotemporal fusion rule. Within the white paper. After enlightening the spatiotemporal fusion rule, Lin Yuan collected his thoughts and bowed slightly towards the half-meter-tall old man. Thank you, Elder. Although it's true that Lin Yuan's insights into the spatiotemporal fusion rule came entirely from the rules of the low-dimensional space, it's always right to be polite. No need to thank me, all this is what you deserve. The half-meter-tall old man looked deeply at Lin Yuan. The same spatiotemporal fusion rule insights that could take other strong beings centuries to absorb just a portion and thereby enlighten the spatiotemporal fusion rule, yet Lin Yuan only spent less than half an hour. The gap is something anyone could see. Now that the game is over, as for those participants who died, the essence and mysteries of their physical bodies, their understanding of other rules, their soul core and so on, keeping them myself would be of no use. Would you want them? The half-meter-tall old man asked after a moment of silence. Ah. These I can have? Sar the Novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lin Yuan looked at the half-meter-tall old man in bewilderment. Weren't we supposed to choose only one? Why can we choose everything now? According to the rules, you can only choose one, but I have the authority to handle the rest, and keeping them here would be a waste, the half-meter-tall old man explained. Then I want them, Lin Yuan immediately said. What a joke. Given the exaggerated effect of watching the Crystal Light group just now, if Lin Yuan were to hesitate, he'd truly be a fool. It's like an enormous stroke of fortune falling from the sky. Then they're yours, the half-meter-tall old man said without hesitation, waving his right hand, and 4 more Crystal Light groups appeared, flying towards Lin Yuan. Compared with the Crystal Light group that represented the understanding of the spatio-temporal fusion rule, these 4 light groups were much murkier and nowhere near as pure as the former. These 4 parts I did not especially purify. You might encounter some disturbances during your comprehension, the half-meter-tall old man cautioned. Understood, Lin Yuan nodded. Even if they were murkier, comprehending them would be far simpler than directly understanding the fusion rules, equivalent to a shortcut to the heavens. If possible, try to comprehend the chaos rules before you challenge the 12th rank. The half-meter-tall elder pondered for a while before he spoke. Chaos rules? Lin Yuan put away the 5 sparkling orbs and looked toward the half-meter-tall elder seated before the huge scroll. This was not the first time Lin Yuan had heard of the chaos rules. Shinji from the Demon Jade Space, the spirit of the Shenhuang secret realm, and Xiaqin, the supreme being, had all mentioned the chaos rules. Correct. Of course, don't pursue the chaos rules too eagerly. After all, for lives below the 12th rank, they are but a legend, said the half-meter-tall elder. Seeing Lin Yuan's displayed perceptiveness, combined with the understanding of rules from over 100 million powerhouses, gave the half-meter-tall elder an inexplicable confidence. All right. Lin Yuan nodded. To comprehend the chaos rules would be greatly beneficial for challenging the ultimate. If possible, Lin Yuan would naturally do his best to understand them. This game is over, it's time for me to leave, the half-meter-tall elder sighed. He controlled white paper and stayed within this universe, which seemed to the outside world as if he were being prevented from leaving by the actions of many supreme beings. But in reality, it was after absorbing enough lives into the scroll, followed by the start of the game, that he stopped, which was more a matter of going with the flow. Leave? Lin Yuan looked at the half-meter-tall elder. Yes. How do you plan to leave? Will you head out directly or should I send you to a hidden location? The half-meter-tall elder asked. Aware of many 12th rank lives peeking outside the scroll, he had naturally taken notice well in advance. Therefore he made a point of asking Lin Yuan. In this event, the unique lives of their Star Alliance faced fundamental losses, and even the hope that was the 4 divine kings with their prospect of reaching the ultimate, would see reduced chances of challenging the ultimate because of this event. Besides, the Star Alliance also lost a supreme weapon, the one that the 4 divine kings had taken into the 2-dimensional world. Milky Way main star. Lin Yuan looked towards the space rift that white paper had entered from afar. White paper squeezed into the universe and now extricated itself from it in just over 100 years, but its impact on the starry sky races was profound. Particularly for Lin Yuan. Compared to the other starry sky races, the losses of strength for the various peak clans, Lin Yuan's gain can be described as unprecedented. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 768 Inventory Gains, Subscribe Requested. In the depths of the cosmic starry skies. This is a desolate star domain where, for hundreds of thousands of light years around, not a single planet is seen. Just then, a slight spatial fluctuation sent out ripples, and Lin Yuan's figure appeared out of nowhere. Where is this? The territory of the Star Alliance? Lin Yuan immediately used the position of his true body as a coordinate to determine his current location. I didn't expect that the white paper senior would send me here. Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. Before leaving this universe, the half-meter-tall elder had casually tossed Lin Yuan out. And according to Lin Yuan, the farther away the better, given that there were dozens of ultimate beings surrounding white paper at the time. Being thrown too close, causing ultimate beings who were adept at the space Great Tao to detect abnormalities, would have been troublesome. I wonder if he'll have the chance to meet White Paper Senior again, Lin Yuan mused from within the depths of multiple spatial layers, looking towards a far distant point where a massive spatial crack was slowly healing. The trip to the low-dimensional space had made a deep impression on Lin Yuan and given him more speculation about the door to the myriad realms. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. So-called low-dimensional spaces are merely the product created by those near-perfect temporal beings to explore other dimensions. That is to say, even beings nearing perfect temporal life cannot break dimensional limitations and wander through different dimensions. But the door to the myriad realms? It easily accomplishes this feat. Could it be that the door to the myriad realms is a treasure at the level of perfect temporal life? Lin Yuan hypothesized in his mind. From the half-meter-tall elder, he had learned of the terrifying nature of perfect temporal life, almost omnipotent, capable of easily overturning timelines if they wished. Forget it. Thinking about this now is too premature. Lin Yuan reined in his thoughts. He wasn't even a supreme being now, considering perfect temporal life was meaningless. Anyway, the door to the myriad realms already recognized him as its master. Once his power reached that level, everything would become clear. I should head back as soon as possible. After surveying his surroundings and confirming there were no powerful beings from the Star Alliance nearby, Lin Yuan immediately planned to return to the territory of human civilization. The Star Alliance's territory is vast, but it's a typical case of wide land with few people. After all, the Star Alliance is primarily made up of many special life forms. Chapter 769 Inventory Gains. Subscribe requested. _ 2-inch Master. The six-armed silhouette stood respectfully, bowing to Lin Yuan. As the spirit of the Shenhuang secret realm, it could sense every change within the secret realm. Naturally, it was aware of Lin Yuan's entrance. You may leave now. Lin Yuan glanced at the six-armed silhouette and gave the order. Yes. The six-armed silhouette respectfully withdrew. Now it's safe. Lin Yuan's mind relaxed. Despite being on the Milky Way main star, he was not entirely safe, carrying many extraordinary items. However, in the Shenhuang secret realm, there was no danger at all. Let's take a look at this silver mirror. Lin Yuan directly took out the silver mirror. Freed from the constraints of the two-dimensional world, the silver mirror seemed to awaken, emitting vast spatial fluctuations, like a small universe being opened up. As the lord of the Shenhuang secret realm, though Lin Yuan, who could mobilize the entire realm's power, didn't feel any pressure. After bringing it out, do I need to refine it to reopen the space it contains? Lin Yuan appeared contemplative. In the main universe, the might of the silver mirror, an ultimate weapon, was reviving. Refining it was necessary to utilize it even at a basic level. Of course, refining the silver mirror wasn't difficult for Lin Yuan. Back in the two-dimensional world, Lin Yuan had already poured a massive amount of mental energy into it, tantamount to half refining it. Continuing to refine it now was merely the natural course of things, a task he could complete in 1 or 2 months at most. Of course, it was just the refining part. To fully unleash this ultimate weapon and bring its power back to life, Lin Yuan at his current level couldn't manage. Only after reaching Tier 11 and undergoing a vast and transformative enhancement of his strength would it be possible. In human civilization's history, occasionally, powerful evolvers wielding ultimate weapons would venture into medium and small-sized otherworldly battlefields, creating permanent spatial rifts. In fact, it was supreme beings behind the scenes driving the ultimate weapons, not ordinary 11th rank evolvers. Even if they exhausted all their strength, they couldn't deal a 12th rank level blow with an ultimate weapon. During the period of refining the silver mirror, Lin Yuan took out 5 radiant orbs of light. These were Lin Yuan's rewards as the victor. As for those extraordinary items, they were things Lin Yuan had painstakingly searched for in the two-dimensional world and didn't count as rewards. Among the 5 radiant orbs, one had a pure aura, precisely representing the spatio-temporal understanding of the myriad tribe's powerhouses. As for the other 4 orbs, they seemed slightly turbid. Let's check this orb. Material rules. This silver-armored gold-horned alien has high mastery of the Great Destruction rule, Lin Yuan thought to himself, and his physical body, while not on par with the turbid Fire King, is also extremely extraordinary in some aspects. Lin Yuan deeply explored the insights. The 4 luminous orbs given by the half-meter-high elder hadn't been specifically refined and purified. They could not bring the direct understanding as probing the orb with the spatiotemporal fusion rule had done. But for Lin Yuan there was no difference. With his against heaven's understanding, countless flashes of spiritual light emerged in his mind. The 10th stage Martial Tao chapter. I now have a direction. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 771 The Confusion of the 9 Supreme Beings. Please subscribe. There's no need to worry or fear, they just want to see you, said the feather butterfly Supreme Being softly. In the two-dimensional world, Lin Yuan swept through the different species in all directions, overwhelming and crushing special beings such as the 4 divine kings and other level 11 perfect legendary lives, shocking even the Supreme Beings. Thus, aside from Xiaqin Supreme Being, the other Supreme Beings were also alerted and developed a strong curiosity about Lin Yuan. All right, Lin Yuan nodded. This was a good opportunity to deliver the 11 strange items. These 11 strange items were treasures that people like Shen Yuan Dua and other human civilization evolvers had obtained through more than 10,000 years of immense hardship and even deadly battles with powerhouses of myriad tribes. Lin Yuan taking 50% was already more than enough, and he naturally would not embezzle. For Lin Yuan, acquiring these strange items was incredibly effortless, a testament to his absolute strength. For human civilization and other 11th rank evolvers, acquiring these strange items, especially in the later stages, was only possible through competition with powerhouses of myriad tribes, a difficulty that is imaginable. Stand behind me. After looking at Lin Yuan, the feather butterfly Supreme Being initiated changes in the surrounding spacetime. I can feel the distance between me and my true self stretching to countless light years in an instant. Lin Yuan's heart was turbulent, recognizing that the feather butterfly Supreme Being in front of him was not the true body, but rather an insignificant incarnation. Very soon, Lin Yuan followed the feather butterfly Supreme Being to a grand palace. This is the number 3 stronghold of our human civilization. Feather butterfly Supreme Being stopped and explained with a smile. The number 3 stronghold was where the 9 Supreme Beings usually met. After the creation of the virtual world by human civilization, the number 3 stronghold was seldom used, as the Supreme Beings mostly gathered in the virtual world, which was more convenient and simple. Lin Yuan nodded solemnly. This palace exerted a great pressure on him, it was at least a supreme weapon and a very powerful one at that. Among the more than 100 strange items obtained in the two-dimensional world, none could surpass this palace in terms of oppressive force. Following behind the feather butterfly Supreme Being, Lin Yuan entered the palace. Deep inside the palace, 9 enormous thrones were occupied by 9 majestic figures. Upon arrival, the form of feather butterfly Supreme Being quickly dissipated. Lin Yuan had long penetrated the rule of time, but like the space rules, what is called a thorough understanding of the rule of time, was only understanding one aspect of the rule of time. To finally comprehend the spatiotemporal fusion rule, he still needed to continuously contemplate the rule of time. With Xiaqin Supreme Being's power alone, Lin Yuan could be liberated from the river of time for dozens of breaths. If the power of the 9 Supreme Beings were pooled, the time away from the river of time would naturally be even longer. Such assistance would be significantly more substantial towards Lin Yuan's meditation on the rule of time. Of course, when the 9 Supreme Beings join forces to forcibly liberate a life from the river of time, there will definitely be a backlash from the river of time and the entire universe. But considering the significant contributions Lin Yuan made in the two-dimensional world, even though they had already distributed the 11 strange objects, Xiaqin Supreme Being and other Supreme Beings felt they should compensate Lin Yuan further. As for the backlash, as long as the timing was well managed and considering Lin Yuan was just a 10th rank life, they could bear the cost. Head to the banks of the river of time? Lin Yuan's expression showed slight hesitation. Being at the banks of the river of time, overseeing the entire river of time, is an unprecedented great fortune for most lives. But for Lin Yuan? He had already reached a pinnacle in his comprehension of the rule of time. Even if he were on the banks of the river of time again, it wouldn't be very beneficial. After all, as a 10th rank life, how far could he see in a brief visit to the banks? From an efficiency perspective, it was far less beneficial compared to absorbing the orb containing the comprehension of the spatio-temporal fusion rule by the powerhouses of myriad tribes. The most critical issue was Xia Qin Supreme being likely underestimated the difficulty of taking Lin Yuan out of the river of time again. Similar to resurrecting past deceased lives, the stronger the life resurrected, the greater the backlash cost borne by the supreme beings. Resurrecting a 6th rank life compared to an 11th rank life, the costs are naturally different. And fishing different levels of life out of the river of time to bring them to the banks also varies. Within the river of time, countless lives, based on the height of their own nature, show different body weights. Undoubtedly, the higher the essence of life, the heavier the body weight. 10th rank lives in the river of time are considered small fishes, while 11th rank lives qualify as big fish. As for Lin Yuan? Even before falling into the two-dimensional world, he had already matched the strength of an 11th rank life, qualifying as a big fish. Now, having experienced the trip to the two-dimensional world and comprehended the spatio-temporal fusion rule, with his inner world transformed, even in the river of time, he would be considered a massive entity. Occupying a 10th to a 5th of the riverbed, he belonged to the strongest level just under those 11th rank complete legendary lives. Xia Qin Supreme being thought Lin Yuan was only a 10th rank life, at most close to an 11th rank life, so he assuredly believed he could easily take Lin Yuan to the banks of the river of time again. However, the actual truth was probably different from what Xia Qin Supreme being imagined. What is it? Xia Qin Supreme being noticed Lin Yuan's hesitation, his eyebrows slightly raised. Supreme being, could I perhaps change my reward? Lin Yuan pondered for a while before speaking. Change the reward? Xia Qin Supreme being looked at Lin Yuan, his expression slightly puzzled. What reward could be more important than observing the river of time? What reward could be more crucial than taking a further step towards comprehending the spatio-temporal fusion rule? Actually, I have already comprehended the spatio-temporal fusion rule. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and decided to be honest, otherwise he didn't know how to refuse Xia Qin Supreme being's enthusiastic offer. You have comprehended the spatio-temporal fusion rule? Xia Qin Supreme being fell silent, glancing at the other 8 supreme beings around him, his eyes showing a hint of confusion. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 772 10th Stage Martial Tao Chapter. Please subscribe, CTH Novelier. N.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. On the 9 Grand Thrones, the 9 Supreme Beings looked at Lin Yuan, their expressions unusually displaying astonishment. He figured out the spatio-temporal fusion rule? Lin Yuan figured out the spatio-temporal fusion rule? With the talent Lin Yuan had shown, he had thoroughly understood the rule of time by the 9th rank. The Xia Qin Supreme Being and other Supreme Beings did not doubt that Lin Yuan could figure out the spatio-temporal fusion rule. For most 11th rank evolvers, it would take billions of years to attempt what Lin Yuan, as one of humanity's strongest prodigies, would not consider a significant bottleneck or restraint. The Supreme Beings had hoped Lin Yuan would reach the ultimate, standing alongside them as a colossal pillar of human civilization. But the 9 Supreme Beings had never expected Lin Yuan to figure out the spatio-temporal fusion rule so quickly. Too quickly. So quickly that the Supreme Beings had not anticipated it at all. When Lin Yuan had thoroughly understood the rule of time, Xia Qin Supreme Being had even given him a push, taking him to the shore of the river of time to observe its entirety. Now, he had figured out the spatio-temporal fusion rule all on his own? And how long had Lin Yuan been at the 10th stage? Although he had spent over 10,000 years in the two-dimensional world, it was a lower-dimensional world devoid of any rule fluctuations, completely unsuitable for perceiving the rules of time and space. You really figured out the spatio-temporal fusion rule? The Void God Supreme Being was somewhat surprised and couldn't help but ask. Time and space themselves are the highest pillars of rules, and Void God Supreme Being specializes in space, also boasting considerable expertise in time. By luck, with a slight movement of his thoughts, Lin Yuan invoked the fusion of the power of spacetime. Compared to the explosive growth of physical soul, discerning the subtleties of rule perception, unless actively demonstrated, is hard for outsiders to precisely identify. It truly is the spatio-temporal fusion rule. With just one look, the 9 supreme beings confirmed that Lin Yuan had fully mastered the spatio-temporal fusion rule. Wuxia Qin Supreme Being felt quite helpless, as he had intended to offer Lin Yuan some insights into figuring out the spatio-temporal fusion rule, but now it seemed entirely unnecessary. Since you've already figured out the spatio-temporal fusion rule, there really is no need to go and view the entirety of the river of time. Feather Butterfly Supreme Being slowly said. Viewing the entire river of time only aids in grasping the rule of time and figuring out the spatio-temporal fusion rule. As for more, the effects are not as great as one might imagine. After figuring out the spatio-temporal fusion rule, further cultivation relies on oneself, and external influences are very limited. With your current life level, figuring out the spatio-temporal fusion rule is indeed rare, but you must not be complacent or overconfident. If you want to reach the peak, figuring out the spatio-temporal fusion rule is only the beginning. You need to continuously grasp it, elevating it to the 2nd realm, 3rd realm, and even 5th realm. Xia Qin Supreme Being wasn't sure what more to say, so he offered standard advice. To challenge the ultimate, the prerequisite is to comprehend the spatio-temporal fusion rule up to the 5th realm. The time and effort it takes to go from the 1st realm to the 5th realm are hard to estimate. Xia Qin Supreme Being's words caused a subtle shift in the thoughts of the other 8 Supreme Beings. He reached the 10th stage and figured out the spatio-temporal fusion rule, and yet he should not be overconfident? What did that make them? Including Xia Qin Supreme Being, none of the 9 Supreme Beings had figured out the spatio-temporal fusion rule at the 10th stage. Understood. Lin Yuan nodded in agreement. Xia Qin Supreme Being was right. Figuring out the spatio-temporal fusion rule was just the beginning. The real challenges were progressing from the 2nd to the 5th realm. Many ancient starry sky deities who had lived for unknown eons were stuck at this level. But what the 9 supreme beings on the field did not know was that Lin Yuan had the myriad tribes powerhouses' insights into the spatio-temporal fusion rule. Reaching the 5th realm in this fusion rule was not difficult for him, and it wouldn't even take much time. He could progress gradually. Lin Yuan's true target was the spacetime fusion rule's 6-fold realm. Only the 12th rank ultimate realm would hold real significance for him. It seems you really don't need to go to the shore anymore. But the 2-dimensional world was beneficial. What reward do you want? The ancient power supreme being asked. The treasury of human civilization includes many treasures and rare items, some of which are of the 12-star level. He'll leave it to the supreme beings to decide. Lin Yuan immediately responded. He did not know what to choose, but as ultimate beings, the supreme beings would surely not make a poor decision. We decide. The ancient power supreme being and the other 8 supreme beings exchanged glances. Lin Yuan knew that the 9 supreme beings must have been communicating secretly among themselves. A moment later, Xia Qin Supreme Being spoke, his expression somewhat solemn. Although you're only at the 10th rank now, you should also consider the challenge to reach the ultimate. This rare treasure should suit you. With a wave of his right hand, a hazy universe appeared before him, which then began to infinitely contract, transforming into a bead and flying towards Lin Yuan. Whoosh! As the bead slowly floated, Lin Yuan's expression shifted slightly. He felt as if he were in front of a vast universe. Is this a microstar universe? No, it's more real than a miniature universe. Among the many treasures and rare items Lin Yuan had seen, only the miniature universe closely resembled this bead. But it was only similar. Although the miniature universe had a complete set of spacetime rules operating, it was ultimately inanimate, but this bead seemed to be alive. This rare treasure, called Source of the Universe, can aid your inner world in its metamorphosis into an inner universe. Xia Qin Supreme Being explained the use of the bead. Aid in metamorphosing the inner world into an inner universe? Lin Yuan took a deep breath. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 773 10th Stage Martial Tao Chapter, Subscribe Request, _2 Upon reaching the ultimate, the inner world would transform towards an inner universe, but the leap from a world to a universe? Such a span is akin to going from 1 to 10,000, 100,000, a million. This beat could assist the inner world in transforming into an inner universe, thus acting as a treasure beneficial for reaching the ultimate, enough to drive the ancient gods at the peak of 11th rank in the deep cosmic starry skies insane. This is too valuable. Lin Yuan, despite possessing numerous 12-star strange treasure weapons, recognized that these were merely external objects. Only by stepping into the 12th rank level oneself was the essence. It's not a matter of being valuable or not. Xia Qin Supreme Being shook his head and said, "Take it." Yes. Lin Yuan immediately stowed away the source of the universe. All right. Let Yudi send you back. Xia Qin Supreme Being looked at Lin Yuan. This number 3 stronghold of human civilization was surrounded by a spatial temporal maze. Lin Yuan himself couldn't leave on his own. As Lin Yuan left, the 9 supreme beings on the field looked at each other once more. Xia Qin, how exactly did you find this kid? His talent is too terrifying, figuring out the fusion rules of time and space at just the 10th stage? To be honest, I feel like with another retreat, that kid will reach the ultimate. The supreme beings conversed in low voices, their tones filled with awe. Outside the Milky Way main star, Lin Yuan's Taiyang divine spirit appeared silently. Back already? Lin Yuan glanced around, his expression thoughtful. I can sense it. The coordinates of the 3rd stronghold, located deep within layers of space, similar to the Shenhuang secret realm, but not as completely hidden as the Shenhuang secret realm. Forget it. I don't want to think about these anymore. Lin Yuan's figure disappeared, reappearing inside the Star Lord's Great Hall. Whoosh! The source of the universe flew out, hovering in front of his true self. Since the source of the universe could aid the inner world in transforming towards an inner universe, it was naturally prioritized for use by the true self. As for the 2 great divine spirits of Taiyin and Taiyang, as long as Lin Yuan could step into the ultimate, the 2 divine spirits would naturally be able to transform successively, and the inner world would likewise evolve into an inner universe. The source of the universe? Lin Yuan carefully observed the bead in front of him. In the presence of the Supreme Being, Lin Yuan did not examine it closely. But now there was no need for that. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The Supreme Beings must have seen that my cultivation time was too short, lacking in temporal essence. Thus they gave me this source of the universe. Lin Yuan was profoundly grateful in his heart, as the source of the universe was immensely helpful to him. With the depth of space I now possess and the length of time when I challenge Tier 11 and endure the Chaos Void Origin Infusion again, perhaps I could bring my inner world close to the level of an inner universe? Lin Yuan secretly thought. Xia Qin Supreme Being granted the source of the universe, making up for Lin Yuan's lack of temporal essence. But the Supreme Beings certainly did not expect that Lin Yuan's inner world in spatial essence was already terrifyingly high. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Lin Yuan's use of these special beings' physical souls to perfect the 10th stage martial Tao chapter was truly a path with an extremely high limit lifting him to the heavens. Search * the novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was not a path that led to a dead end or dead alley. It was like standing at the height of the universe and creating and developing an evolution path. Virtual world. Lin Yuan and Nalan comfortably sat together. Beyond his practices, Lin Yuan would also enter the virtual world to relax, albeit just with a sliver of consciousness, not hindering his normal practice of enlightenment. This time the 2-dimensional world has fallen, and those different species strong ones suffered, especially the 4 divine kings, even losing the most suitable supreme weapons for themselves in there. Nalan had a somewhat schadenfreude attitude, although his avatar also experienced a fundamental loss by dying in the 2-dimensional world. He was compensated to some degree by human civilization afterward. Lin Yuan returned 11 exotic items to the Supreme Beings, parts of which compensated various human evolvers. After all, many human evolvers also contributed in the search for these exotic items, and naturally human civilization would not let them be at a loss. Indeed, quite tragic. Lin Yuan nodded. Originally the four divine kings were among the first tier of strong ones below the supreme beings. But now they had lost a weapon perfectly suited to them. Whether it was the Star Alliance or the human civilization or the Insect Race Alliance, all had collected a number of supreme weapons. But for life forms below the level of supreme beings, finding a suitable supreme weapon was nothing short of climbing to the heavens. Having lost that supreme weapon, even if the four divine kings received another supreme weapon bestowed by the Star Alliance, they could not return to the peak of their combat power. Moreover, the death of an avatar in the two-dimensional world meant a permanent loss of some of the spirit will. This also had a significant impact on their strength. The two factors combined. Although the four divine kings weren't reduced to mediocrity, they could no longer compare to beings like the Mother of the Tree Realm. Even their time for challenging the ultimate would be indefinitely postponed, but no matter how much it was delayed, the possibility of finally becoming ultimate had decreased. Apart from the four divine kings, many other special beings and different species strong ones also suffered great losses, at least losing part of their spirit will fundamentally. Spirit will, unlike physical body, cannot be improved with the help of rare treasures. To increase the strength of spirit will, one does not know how much effort is needed. Having lost a part permanently, the stronger the being, the heavier the loss. How about those different species strong ones? Unique special beings, how are they still beaten up by our human Lord Shueyu? In the competition in the two-dimensional world, only Lord Shueyu emerged as the ultimate victor. A smile appeared on Nalan's face. Although, at present, human civilization hasn't publicly announced that Lord Shueyu had successfully exited from the two-dimensional world, even the human civilization's evolvers have guessed that Lord Shueyu must have survived. The different species strong ones also have such speculations but can only speculate. As a peak clan with 9 supreme beings standing guard, other different species, despite their great losses, dare not do anything against human civilization. Time slowly passed. In a blink, 2.5 years had gone by. Milky Way main star. Lin Yuan quietly sat there. What is a physical body? What is a soul? Thoughts surged in Lin Yuan's mind. The mystique of the myriad tribes' powerhouses' bodies, their innate abilities, etc., all converged in Lin Yuan's heart, forming the foundation of the 10th stage Martial Tao chapter. One does not know how much time had passed. Lin Yuan slowly opened his eyes, a smile appearing on his face. 10th stage Martial Tao chapter, completed. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. However, the Martial Path Evolutionary Path's 10th rank chapter returns to the physical soul, showing the path of evolution from the root. Goddess of Wisdom. Lin Yuan immediately connected to the Goddess of Wisdom. Respected scholar Lin Yuan, 8th level citizen, Goddess of Wisdom is pleased to serve you, intoned the Goddess of Wisdom in a grave and cool voice. I wish to upload the Martial Tao 10th rank chapter. Lin Yuan immediately uploaded the Martial Tao 10th rank chapter to the terminal of the Goddess of Wisdom. Virtual world. The Xia Qin Supreme Being and several other Supreme Beings gathered once again. The Martial Tao 10th rank chapter? That youngster created the Martial Tao 10th rank chapter? The Xia Qin Supreme Beings were briefly stunned, then promptly accepted it. Lin Yuan even comprehended the spatio-temporal fusion rule. Creating the Martial Tao 10th rank chapter wasn't so inconceivable. Let me have a look. The Void God Ultimate Being immediately started to peruse it. Nowadays, within human civilization, Lin Yuan's importance is second only to the 9 Supreme Beings. His 10th rank chapter was directly judged by the Supreme Beings. This 10th rank chapter? The Ancient Power Supreme Being was slightly taken aback. As the ultimate existence skilled in the rule of power and specializing in the physical body, the Ancient Power Supreme Being instantly recognized that the Martial Tao 10th rank chapter involved reshaping the physical body. Impressive indeed. How many special beings did this youngster dissect to have such a profound understanding of the physical body? The Ancient Power Supreme Being wondered more and more inconceivably as he read. High understanding of rules by Lin Yuan? He could somewhat force an explanation. After all, many rules pervade the cosmic starry sky, and to those peerless geniuses they are palpable. But the mysteries of the physical body? Especially the mysteries of the physical body in the Martial Tao 10th rank chapter, are all directed towards the Tao of the physical body, the location of the great Tao of the cosmos. Such profound understanding of the physical body should be beyond a youngster like Lin Yuan, right? And the soul? The feather butterfly supreme being said with a slightly grave expression. She also noticed the core thread of the 10th rank chapter, which fundamentally lies in the physical soul. Martial arts evolutionaries who practice up to the Martial Tao 10th rank, reaching perfection in the 10th rank layer, will have a much higher possibility of stepping into Tier 11 in the future. Even touching the ultimate offers a minuscule benefit, nodded the Xiaqin Supreme Being. Do not underestimate the significance of a transcendent physical soul, especially when striving for the ultimate. A perfected physical soul might not provide great help, but it will at least not be a hindrance. Indeed, it is very good. The Void God Supreme Being nodded slightly, even he saw the rare and valuable aspect of the Martial Tao 10th rank chapter, returning to the physical soul, emphasizing the shaping of the foundation. This 10th rank chapter is worth at least 3 billion merit points. 3 billion merit points? That is somewhat low. I think it is worth at least 4 or 5 billion merit points. Let's say 5 billion? I feel like the exposition on the physical body in the 10th rank chapter could be applied to other evolution paths. The various supreme beings conversed with each other and finally rendered a 5 billion merit points valuation. Milky Way main star. As Lin Yuan waited, he once again immersed himself in the practice and enlightenment of the Tao. Just then, respected scholar Lin Yuan, 8th level citizen, your Martial Tao 10th rank chapter has been judged, began the solemn and cool voice of the goddess of wisdom. Judged already? Lin Yuan opened his eyes, slightly expectant. The final evaluation result values the 10th stage Martial Tao chapter at 50 billion merit points. The voice of the goddess of wisdom rang out. 50 billion merit points? A smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. He remembered the 9th stage Martial Tao chapter was valued at only 2 billion merit points. Those 2 billion merit points even included the results of the bloodline cultivation system. But now, the 10th stage chapter is worth 50 billion straight away? Even though Lin Yuan used nearly 100 exotic treasures, 50 billion merit points was still a huge fortune for him. In the human civilization treasury, the exchange price for 12-star strange treasures starts at 1 billion merit points. 50 billion merit points could exchange for 50 of the lowest value 12-star strange treasures. Right? What's the current ranking of the Martial Path evolutionary path now? Lin Yuan immediately began to check. After uploading the 9th stage Martial Tao chapter, the Martial Path evolutionary path's ranking was 42nd in the Southern Star region. Being 42nd in the Southern Star region, one of the 5 major star regions of human civilization, would roughly put it in the 300 to 400 rank range of the entire human civilization's evolutionary paths. The rankings of the Southern Star region's evolutionary path. First, Lin Yuan was somewhat surprised as he saw the final ranking. Even though he had anticipated a spike in ranking after uploading the 10th rank chapter, thanks to those 50 billion merit points being there, the higher the evaluation in merit points, it meant that the 3 goddesses and even the supreme beings saw great potential, signifying even greater potential. But Lin Yuan hadn't expected to soar straight to first place in the Southern Star region rankings. This was one of the 5 major star regions, not some star domain or star alliance. The evolutionary paths in the Southern Star region's rankings were primarily 11th rank evolutionary paths, and having the 9th rank Martial Tao evolutionary path at 42nd was already incredibly unbelievable. The ranking of human civilization's evolutionary paths. Lin Yuan shifted his gaze to the ranking of the Martial Path evolutionary path amongst the evolutionary paths of human civilization. The rankings of human civilization's evolutionary paths consist of all evolutionary paths recorded by human civilization, including the rankings of all evolutionary paths as well as the 9 great supreme evolutionary paths. The ranking of human civilization's evolutionary paths is the most prestigious. 10th place, Lin Yuan glanced up at the evolutionary paths now ranked ahead of the Martial Path evolutionary path. There were only 9. And these 9 evolutionary paths were all supreme evolutionary paths. Has the Martial Path evolutionary path become the strongest evolutionary path beneath the supreme evolutionary paths? Lin Yuan silently thought to himself. Of course, to say it's the strongest isn't quite accurate. The ranking of human civilization's evolutionary paths is determined by many aspects, including potential, which holds significant weight. But regardless, the Marshall Path evolutionary path has now become the most pinnacle of all the vast and numerous evolutionary paths recorded in human civilization. The rise in the ranking of the Marshall Path evolutionary path swiftly caused a huge stir within the entirety of human civilization. After all, the Marshall Path evolutionary path's latest ranking was 10th in human civilization, overwhelming a host of 11th-rank peak evolutionary paths and taking the top spot on the Southern Star region leaderboard, shocking countless evolutionary and high-level citizens. Ranked 10th in human civilization's evolutionary paths? This Marshall Path evolutionary path is too formidable. Just by uploading the 10th ranked chapter, it surged from around 3 to 400th place to 10th? Haha, I told you guys the future of the Marshall Path evolutionary path was immeasurable, but you wouldn't believe me. Countless evolvers began to discuss fervently, as there hadn't been an evolutionary path that reached the top of a major star region while only at the 10th rank since the beginning of the Starry Sea era. Indeed, the human civilization's evolutionary path rankings emphasize potential as one of the main criteria, but to become a Tier 11 evolutionary path doesn't low potential? Thunder Rain Star Region. Lulon He, 1.5 meters tall, suddenly leaped up. I said the Marshall Path evolutionary path was quite good. Lulon He was extremely excited. He can be considered a witness to the Marshall Path evolutionary path. When the Marshall Path evolutionary path was only at the second layer, he took notice of it and began to cultivate it. He even defied his father's will for this. Father. Lulon He immediately began to contact his father. Little He. The ethereal figure of Lulon Yu appeared in front of him. Father, have you seen the latest ranking of the Marshall Path evolutionary path? Lulon He said excitedly. I have seen it. Sir, the novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lulon Yu spoke gravely. The hottest topic inside human civilization at the moment was the Marshall Path evolutionary path. Even the different species were aware of it. Your choice was very good. Lulon Yu looked at his son. Keep cultivating on the Marshall Path evolutionary path. Because. Lulon Yu said this but did not continue. Because of what? Lulon He asked cheerfully. Because. Lulon Yu looked solemn, his tone tinged with emotion. This could very well be our human civilization's 10th supreme evolutionary path. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 776 9th Level Citizen, please subscribe. The current popularity of the Marshall Path evolutionary path has even surpassed the 9 great supreme evolution paths. SAR the novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Several days later on the Milky Way main star. Lin Yuan casually glanced at the changes in the Marshall Path evolutionary path after its update and was amazed. Since the Starry Sea era, the Supreme Evolution Path has always been the most popular evolutionary path in human civilization. It symbolizes the ultimate in a particular evolutionary road, coveted by countless evolvers. For the vast majority of evolvers, if they had a choice, they would definitely prioritize cultivating the Supreme Evolution Path. The only drawback of the Supreme Evolution Path is that its upper limit is locked at Tier 11 with no chance for an ultimate leap. But what of it? Tier 11 is already a goal too lofty for nearly all evolvers to even dream of. Compared to other evolution paths, every realm within the Supreme Evolution Path is extremely well developed and even perfect. In a battle between evolvers of the same rank under normal circumstances, if all other aspects of their abilities and foundations are equal, the one who cultivates the Supreme Evolution Path will be stronger by quite a few notches. Hence, the popularity of the 9 great Supreme Evolution Paths in human civilization is beyond doubt. However, Lin Yuan could clearly feel now that the frequency of discussions about the Marshall Path evolutionary path on the virtual network has surpassed the 9 great Supreme Evolution Paths. This is not to say that the Marshall Path evolutionary path has outstripped the Supreme Evolution Path. Rather, in more than 2 million years, no other evolutionary path has managed to reach a level just below the Supreme Evolution Path at the 10th rank. If 10th rank could already overwhelm Tier 11, what would happen when the Marshall Path evolutionary path advances to Tier 11? As a result, Countless evolvers in human civilization speculate that the martial path evolutionary path might possibly become human civilization's 10th supreme evolution path. The 10th supreme evolution path? Lin Yuan shook his head slightly as he had no certainty of crossing into the ultimate. Once failed, even with the protection of the door to the myriad realms, he didn't know if he would survive. The number of people practicing the martial path evolutionary path has started to surge dramatically in the past few days. Lin Yuan called up the specific data for the martial path evolutionary path and started watching it seriously. First tier chapter, 26 trillion. Second layer chapter, 832 billion. Third rank chapter, 4 billion. Fourth rank chapter, 120 billion. Fifth stage section, 53 million. Sixth rank chapter, 860,000. Seventh rank chapter, 17,000. Eighth layer part, 0. 800 years have passed, and not a single martial arts evolutionary has entered the 8th layer? Lin Yuan thought to himself. Compared to more than 100 years ago, the number of practitioners in the martial path evolutionary path's first tier chapter to the 4th rank chapter has increased by thousands to tens of thousands of times. The 5th stage section to the 7th rank chapter also increased by several hundred to 1,000-fold. But as for the 8th layer, at least for now, no 8th layer martial path evolutionary has registered their realm. Time is still too short. Lin Yuan shook his head inwardly. The martial path evolutionary path hasn't even been around for 500 years since it was uploaded. Even with enormous potential, it can't be converted immediately into a final number of high-rank evolvers. The evolution of life is a long process, even with a specific evolutionary path to guide it. It seems I still need to spend time creating more video analyses from the 7th rank peak to the 8th layer, Lin Yuan reflected thoughtfully. Although it isn't specified, the higher the number of high-rank evolvers in his evolution path, the better for his ultimate leap. After all, as the progenitor of the martial path evolutionary path, Lin Yuan doesn't have to worry about later martial path evolvers posing a threat to him. In fact, any martial path evolver, regardless of their realm or bloodline, would naturally be suppressed by Lin Yuan. In over 100 years, the revenue from the martial path evolutionary path has already exceeded 600 billion cubic universe crystals. A smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. Hundreds of years ago, he was worried about a few thousand or tens of thousands of cubic universe crystals. Now, his net worth has skyrocketed to be calculated in billions of cubic universe crystals. But high revenues also mean substantial costs in cultivation. Lin Yuan thought to himself quietly. So far, his main expense in cultivation comes from one of the 3 Dao-protecting secret skills of the profound yellow lineage, the Xianhuang physique. Xianhuang physique itself was a method fleshed out by infinite resources. Adding to that Lin Yuan's formidable physical foundation, the enhancement of the mysterious gourd, the boost from the eternal spring, the amplification of martial Dao, the infusion from the chaos void origin, and so on. As a result, even a slight enhancement of Lin Yuan's physical strength requires tremendous sacrifices. And the enhancement of Xianhuang physique to the body depends on its original strength, leading to the cost of cultivating this secret technique many times exceeding Lin Yuan's expectations. Chapter 777 9th Level Citizen. Subscribe please. 2-inch spreading one's own evolution path, allowing more beings to cultivate, and ultimately nourishing oneself to propel the ultimate leap. Such means are nothing short of incredible. Lin Yuan thought to himself that this kind of nourishment was not the kind that came from the power of faith but rather from the path of evolution, basically without any hidden dangers. I wonder which powerful being created this cultivation method? An existence close to a perfect time being? Lin Yuan was quite curious. In the long-gone cosmic era, there was no talk of spreading one's own evolution path. If you wanted to make the ultimate leap, you essentially had to rely on yourself. Take Emperor Xianhuang for example. He did not spread his evolution path widely because the threshold for the Xianhuang evolutionary path was too high and not suitable for aimless dissemination. It's about time. It's time to advance to a 9th level citizen. Lin Yuan glanced at the balance of his own merit points, 5 billion and 200 million. Out of these, 50 billion merit points were the reward he received after uploading the 10th stage Martial Tao chapter. The remaining 2 billion plus merit points were what Lin Yuan had accumulated over time, including what was left from the last time he uploaded the 9th stage Martial Tao chapter. From an 8th level citizen to a 9th level citizen, 10 billion merit points are needed, equivalent to the value of 10 entry-level 12-star rare treasures. After pondering for a moment, Lin Yuan chose to upgrade his citizen level. In the past, every time he advanced his citizen level, he gained far more than the value of the merit points spent on the advancement itself. The higher the citizen level, the more important it was not just the privileges but also the ability to influence some of the decisions of human civilization. Take Lin Yuan for instance. He was currently the chief speaker of the North Cold Star Alliance, the highest-ranking individual in hundreds, if not thousands, of star domains, and a single thought from him was enough to determine human civilization's policy towards the surrounding different species. The ordinary tribes within the North Cold Star Alliance, the weaker tribes, or even the other different species tribes nearby, all had to rely on Lin Yuan's influence. Goddess of Wisdom. I wish to now advance to a 9th-level citizen. Lin Yuan immediately connected to the Goddess of Wisdom and made a request to upgrade his citizen level. In an instant, Lin Yuan's 5 billion and more merit points were reduced by 10 billion. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At the same time, the citizen level section on Lin Yuan's personal information page quietly changed from 8th to 9th level. 9th level citizen. 9th level citizen of human civilization. This was a weight that not just any star domain, even a star alliance, could hardly bear. Even among the many 11th rank evolvers of human civilization, most were not 9th level citizens. Even for powerful 11th rank evolvers, accumulating 10 billion merit points would require a huge sacrifice. The ancient 10th rank evolver from the Xinyuan family, Xinyuan Fan, who had fought for 1 to 2 million years on the battlefields of different species, had only accumulated 20 million merit points at the end. To gain the opportunity to comprehend the mysteries of a black planet, he had to borrow 80 million merit points on behalf of his family from human civilization to make up a total of 1 billion merit points to complete the transaction with Lin Yuan. If someone ancient like Xinyuan Fan had to do this, 11th rank evolvers with more accumulated merit points would not be too far ahead. Moreover, most evolvers cannot resist the temptation to spend some of their merit points during the accumulation process. Just like Xinyuan Fan, who, wanting to increase his chances of advancing to Tier 11, chose to spend the 20 million merit points he had saved up in advance. After all, merit points have too high a value in human civilization, able to exchange for many unimaginably valuable resources and heritages. It is only a very few, like Lin Yuan, who save up every merit point to upgrade their citizen level. Using merit points to advance citizen level is indeed the most valuable approach, but the greatest value does not mean the highest short-term return. Just after Lin Yuan smoothly advanced to a 9th level citizen, a flurry of emails from the central star field of human civilization were all sent over. These emails, aside from congratulating Lin Yuan, were introductions to the many privileges of a 9th level citizen. Privileges for a 9th level citizen. Lin Yuan browsed through the emails one by one. The first were the standard benefits. One would receive a 9th rank evolution elixir. Starting from a 6th level citizen, with each advancement in citizenship level, one would receive a corresponding evolution elixir. Even the lowest 6th rank evolution elixir, it's a specially allocated resource. Even if you have an abundance of cosmic crystals, you cannot buy it. Only merit points can be used to exchange for one, with a 6th rank evolution elixir requiring 10,000 merit points. A 7th rank evolution elixir requires 100,000 merit points. An 8th rank evolution elixir requires 1,000,000 merit points. A 9th rank evolution elixir requires 10 million merit points. Furthermore, to exchange for an evolution elixir, you also need to have the corresponding authorization.